Chapter 920. Are you very familiar with the beast god Tian? Hulina was a little astonished when she heard Lu Yuan's words. However, she understood a little when she recalled that Lu Yuan had mentioned that Guyuna's sanctuary was the god of the great star Do forest. What kind of soul beast is the beast god Tian? Hulina asked. She was very curious about the beast god, Tian, who was ranked first on the savage beast list that Lu Yuan had announced. Zhu Zhuqing and the rest turned to Lu Yuan when they heard Hulina's question. Tian, he's one of the more intelligent soul beasts. Of course, I'm talking about him in comparison. Tian can be considered a qualified leader among soul beasts. He's also one of the rare soul beasts with a pure dragon bloodline. He's very strong, and there's a reason why he's ranked before the deep-sea devil whale king. Tian isn't as old as the deep-sea devil whale king, and his basic cultivation should be weaker than it. However, he's a pure dragon, and his bloodline is stronger than the deep-sea devil whale king's. Soul beasts value their bloodline very much. In addition, Tian has the ultimate skill, the Dragon King's Claw. His fighting strength should be slightly stronger than the deep-sea devil whale king's. Of course, it's only slightly stronger. Tian might not be able to do much to the deep-sea devil whale king in the sea. They're both demigods, and the gap between them isn't that big. It's possible to determine a victor, but it's impossible for Tian to kill the deep-sea devil whale king. Lu Yuan said plainly. How strong are demigods? I know that the Dragon Emperor Douluo is an ultimate Douluo. I've seen his battle with the Great Consecrator, and I've also seen your battle with the Great Consecrator. It was earth-shattering. However, demigods should be stronger, right? Hulina asked. Of course. A demigod and an ultimate Douluo are two different realms. Let's put it this way. The sea god Douluo Posiasai is an ultimate Douluo, but she can borrow the power of the sea to become as strong as a demigod. She once easily defeated the Great Consecrator, who was an ultimate Douluo, and the previous vast sky Douluo Tangchen. Lu Yuan said softly. He easily defeated the joint forces of the Great Reverend and the previous vast sky Douluo Tangchen? Hearing Lu Yuan's words, Hulina couldn't help but open her mouth wide in surprise. The surrounding people were also shocked. A demigod was actually this strong? That's right. He defeated two Limit Douluo with ease. That's the power of a demigod. Limit Douluo is the limit of a human, but a demigod is already half a step into the realm of gods. They're not just humans anymore, so they can't be compared. Lu Yuan said with a smile. Doesn't that mean that even if the Great Consecrator and the Dragon Emperor Douluo were to work together, the Martial Soul Palace and the Dragon King Palace wouldn't be able to do anything to the Great Star Do Forest's core region? Hulina said. More or less. If I'm not here, then we really can't do anything to them. But if I'm here, then we can. Lu Yuan said with a faint smile. With his current power, he could dominate the continent. If he had the Godslayer's spear, he would be invincible against anyone below the god rank. Even a demigod could be defeated with a single spear. Otherwise, he wouldn't have brought Hulina and the rest to the Sea God's Island alone. As the saying went, those who were skilled were bold. With his current power, he was confident that he could kill the deep-sea demonic whale king or Pasizi immediately if he met them. With sufficient power, he wasn't afraid of other people's tricks. It was important to know that he could use the Godslayer's spear 5 times without suffering any damage. He only needed 1 spear to kill a demigod. What this meant was self-evident. Hulina nodded. She knew a little about Lu Yuan's Godslayer's spear. Zhu Zhuqing and the rest also knew a little about it. Lu Yuan had once told them that he was invincible on the continent. Therefore, with Lu Yuan by her side, even if she was a little shocked by the power of a demigod, she recovered quickly. All right, let's not talk about this anymore. You guys come and greet it. Lu Yuan waved his hand and said softly. With Hulina in front, the others didn't hesitate. They walked up one by one and gently stroked the head of the deep-sea demonic whale, greeting it. This deep-sea demonic whale was also very friendly. It was very willing to make new friends, so it quickly got to know everyone. Time flowed like water. In the blink of an eye, another week slipped through the gaps between the fingers. The blue sky and white clouds matched the endless blue sea. The scenery was very pleasant. Lu Yuan was still lying on the deck, leisurely basking in the sun. Hulina and the rest were also enjoying the sea breeze on the deck. After another week, everyone had already adapted to life on the ship. The symptoms of seasickness from before had long disappeared. After all, they were all soul masters with strong physique. Although they couldn't adapt for a while, they would naturally be fine after a long time. Zhu Zhuqing sat beside Lu Yuan. She picked up a piece of fruit and sent it to Lu Yuan's mouth. He ate it in one bite. Zhu Zhuqing was quiet and well-behaved. She didn't like noise. After the symptoms of seasickness disappeared, she usually accompanied Lu Yuan most of the time. As for Ning Rongrong and the rest who liked to be lively, they played very happily with the deep-sea demonic whale. In 7 days, everyone was more familiar with the deep-sea demonic whale. They also played more freely. Ning Rongrong and the rest climbed on the back of the deep-sea demonic whale many times to play with it. It could be said that the existence of this deep-sea demonic whale also solved a lot of the boredom of the journey. They also gave the deep-sea demonic whale a simple and crude name, Xiaolan. The reason was because it had dark blue skin. However, Xiaolan didn't sound bad. At least it was a little more reliable than names like Xiao Bai and Xiao Huang. Zhu Qing, have another piece, Lu Yuan said softly after finishing a piece as he lay on the recliner. Hearing this, Zhu Zhuqing picked up the fork and fed him another piece. Young Master Lu, you're so comfortable. You even need someone to feed you fruit, Hulina said unhappily. She was enjoying the sea breeze. When she turned around, she saw Zhu Zhuqing feeding the deep-sea demonic whale. Why? Do you have a problem with that? Lu Yuan asked indifferently after hearing Hulina's words. How would this little girl dare to have a problem with young Master Lu? Hulina curled her lips and walked over to Lu Yuan's side. How far are we from the sea god's island? Although the scenery in this vast sea is good, it's always a little boring. Looking at Lu Yuan, Hulina said softly. It's about a week's journey. The sea god's island is a little far from the mainland. It'll take a lot of time. Chapter 9:21. There's still about a week left? Listening to Lu Yuan's words, Hulina slightly wrinkled her nose. To be honest, she was somewhat tired of this sea voyage. Do you feel that this monotonous sea voyage is boring? Looking into Hulina's eyes, Lu Yuan softly asked. Yes, it's so boring. Hulina pouted her lips, pulled Lu Yuan's arm, and softly acted coquettishly. I think it's okay. Zhuqing, do you feel bored? Lu Yuan asked Zhu Zhuqing. I think it's okay. Compared to the daily practice, this is nothing. Moreover, with you here, I don't feel bored. Zhu Zhuqing said. Well, did you hear that? Looking at Hulina, Lu Yuan asked with a smile. No, I just feel bored. Hulina glanced at Lu Yuan, and secretly complained in her heart. She just wanted this guy to coax her. Not only did he pretend not to see it, he even used Zhu Zhuqing's words to checkmate her. Damn it. Her personality is different from Zhu Zhuqing's. Zhu Zhuqing's personality is quiet, while she is more active. Don't you know that she is a fox? How can she be quieter than a cat? Damn Lu Yuan. Looking at Hulina's expression, Lu Yuan faintly smiled, sat up, grabbed Hulina's waist, and let her sit on his lap. I know you're active, but I can't do anything about this sea voyage. If you really feel bored, then let's go make a little person. It's not boring, and it's very interesting. Lu Yuan faintly smiled. Bah, you only know how to think about these naughty things all day. Didn't you have enough fun last night? Hulina spat, punched Lu Yuan's chest, and said in a bad mood. I didn't have enough fun. The three of you together can't beat me. To be honest, I kind of miss Na. She's really strong. Lu Yuan sighed softly. As soon as he said this, the expressions of Hulina and Zhu Zhuqing, who were standing beside Lu Yuan, changed at the same time. Their faces darkened as they looked at Lu Yuan bitterly. Their eyes were filled with flames of anger. You dare to think about other women when you're with us? Most importantly, you insulted all three of us at the same time. Hulina gritted her teeth, her tone cold. Insult the three of you? It can't be that serious. Looking at the two women's expressions, Lu Yuan was slightly stunned. Why are they so angry? It's that serious. Zhu Zhuqing said coldly. I'm speechless. Can't I even speak the truth these days? Lu Yuan said helplessly. That's right. The three of us are willing to accompany you. Why are you still complaining about this and that? You can sleep alone tonight, Hulina said coldly. How could he sleep alone? He still has his baby Na. Let your Na sleep with you. We won't serve you. Zhu Zhuqing's cold voice sounded in Lu Yuan's ears. Hearing this, Lu Yuan smiled bitterly. He had poked a hornet's nest with his words. But it was also true. After all, which woman would be willing to be said that she was inferior to others? Not to mention the man they loved the most. And most importantly, there were only 3 people on the ship, Hulina and the others. Gu Yuna and the others were not there at all, so these 2 women were even more fearless when they got angry. You're sure to eat me. Forget it, I'm too lazy to argue with you. I'm going to find Rongrong. You 2 stay here. With that, he put Hulina aside. Lu Yuan got up and left. Like to be angry? Then continue to give birth. I won't serve you anymore. I'm going to find a concubine. Anyway, this one doesn't like to be angry and is very obedient. Looking at Lu Yuan's back, Hulina gritted her teeth and scolded in a low voice, This bastard. He is indeed a bastard, but what can we do? Who asked us to be so useless? Sighing, Zhu Zhuqing said helplessly. Why do you think Gu Yuna is so strong? This guy is so abnormal, but she can still stand it. Hulina asked with some doubts. Who knows? Zhu Zhuqing replied, and then followed Lu Yuan's back. She said that she would ignore him, but she never took it seriously. Hulina's pink eyes blinked, and a light flashed. She also walked in the direction of Lu Yuan. On this side, Lu Yuan walked to the railing at the edge of the ship and glanced around. On the side of the ship, Ning Rongrong and Duguyen were playing on the back of the deep-sea demon whale. Seeing Lu Yuan coming, the deep-sea demon whale was very excited, and it kept making whale sounds. Lu Yuan smiled faintly, and his body moved, and he was on the back of the deep-sea demon whale. Obuchi! Seeing Lu Yuan come, Ning Rongrong smiled sweetly and threw herself into Lu Yuan's arms. Are you having fun with Xiaolan? Lu Yuan asked with a smile. Very happy, Xiaolan is very obedient. Ning Rongrong smiled sweetly. Hearing this, Lu Yuan smiled faintly. From Ning Rongrong's reaction, he knew that he had made the right decision. Since Ning Rongrong and the others were getting along well with the deep-sea demon whale, it would be much easier for them to get along with other soul beasts in the future. Hall Master! At this moment, Duguyen and Yi Lingling saw Lu Yuan, and they greeted Lu Yuan. I've said many times that you don't have to greet me when you see me. This isn't the Dragon King Hall, so you can be more casual. There's no need to be so rigid. Lu Yuan looked at the 2 of them and said, Yes, Hall Master. Duguyen and Yi Lingling replied softly. Okay. Lu Yuan nodded and retracted his gaze. He looked at Ning Rongrong and was about to speak, but suddenly, his heart skipped a beat, and a sense of danger arose spontaneously. At the same time, the deep-sea demon whale below them was also excited, as if it had sensed something that made it excited. Lu Yuan frowned slightly, and he waved his hand gently. Duguyen and Yi Lingling rose into the air and landed on the ship. Soon after, Lu Yuan appeared on the deck with Ning Rongrong in his arms. The sudden change shocked the 3 girls at the same time, and they couldn't help but look at Lu Yuan suspiciously. Danger is approaching, everyone be careful. Lu Yuan's eyes narrowed slightly and he said faintly, Danger. Hearing Lu Yuan's words, everyone couldn't help but be stunned. Danger is approaching? Seeing Lu Yuan's serious look, Hulina, who rushed to Lu Yuan's side, knew that things weren't simple. Obuchi, is it difficult to deal with? It's not very difficult to deal with, but I may have to use my full strength, and I may not have the energy to take care of you later. Lu Yuan's eyes flashed, and he looked at the deep-sea demon whale below, and he already knew who it was. If it could make him feel danger, it must be a threat to him. This meant that the strength of the newcomer was stronger than his basic strength, and his basic strength was comparable to the limit. There was only one such soul beast in the entire sea that was stronger than him, and that was the million-year soul beast, the deep-sea demon whale king. Chapter 9:22. He gazed into the distance, and a black shadow appeared on the surface of the sea. This black shadow was huge, so huge that it was unimaginable. Even Lu Yuan was a little shocked when he saw it. Its body was 800 to 900 meters long, and it was a huge creature. In Lu Yuan's impression, other than Gu Yuna, who was a few hundred meters long and had a huge dragon body, the other soul beasts were like little brothers in front of this soul beast. This soul beast's aura was also unimaginably strong. Whether it was Long Xiaoyao or Sendoryu, they were far inferior to it. When he saw this scene, Lu Yuan's expression became very serious, because he had been locked onto by this soul beast. Just like how Lu Yuan could discover it immediately, it could also discover Lu Yuan's presence immediately. To existences like them, the energy in their bodies was as bright as a light bulb. Even if they were very far away, they could still clearly sense each other's presence. Obuchi, what is that? At this moment, Hulina also saw the huge black shadow, and her voice trembled a little. This was the first time she had seen such a huge soul beast. When they heard Hulina's voice, Zhu Zhuqing and the others also noticed the huge black shadow, and they couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. After all, its body was just too big. That's a million-year soul beast, the demigod deep-sea devil whale king. Lu Yuan looked at the huge black shadow without blinking as he said plainly, Deep-sea devil whale king? When they heard Lu Yuan's words, everyone was shocked. This was the deep-sea devil whale king, ranked second on the savage beast leaderboard? Isn't the deep-sea devil whale king in the devil whale sea? Why is it coming towards us? This place is still very far from the devil whale sea. Hulina was a little puzzled as she asked. Normally, it does stay in the demon whale sea, but this time, it should have come for Little Blue. I didn't think it through. Now that Little Blue is lost, this demon whale king will definitely come to find it. Lu Yuan sighed softly. He really hadn't thought of this point. At that time, he had only agreed to let Xiao Lan go with them, but he had forgotten that his daughter had gone missing. How could the deep-sea demonic whale king not be worried? After sensing Xiao Lan's aura, it would definitely rush towards them. Moreover, this deep-sea magic whale king had locked onto him as soon as it arrived. So you're here to look for Xiao Lan. That's good. Ning Rongrong let out a sigh of relief and said with a smile. Nothing, my ass. The deep-sea demon whale king isn't anything good. It's completely different from Xiao Lan. It relied on devouring other soul beasts to cultivate to its current level. Perhaps it has already treated us as food. Lu Yuan said indifferently. Ah, but we saved Xiao Lan. It won't bite the hand that feeds it, right? Ning Rongrong said in disbelief. Does it know that we saved Xiao Lan? It doesn't know. Even if it knew, it would still attack us. Biting the hand that feeds it isn't a big deal to it. After hearing Ning Rongrong's words, Lu Yuan shook his head and said, although he didn't like the sea god in the original novel, because he was biased and interfered in human affairs. He even showed his divinity and blocked Chihiro Snow's pursuit. However, the sea god was right about one thing. The deep-sea demonic whale king wasn't anything good. It couldn't be compared to Tian. Tian's words carried enormous weight, and he was fearless. Even when facing a god, he dared to fight to the end. His actions were very imposing. However, the deep-sea demonic whale king was different. It was crafty and sly, and was as timid as a mouse. It feared the sea god's projection like a tiger. Furthermore, it liked to scheme and scheme. It was comparable to the evil-eye tyrant king. In the original novel, it died very sullenly. However, in reality, its death wasn't a bad thing. Its existence wasn't a good thing for the stability of the ocean. If one were to say that Tian was leading the soul beasts and was trying his best to make them stronger, then the deep-sea demon whale king was trying his best to devour the powerful aquatic soul beasts to strengthen himself. There was no comparison between the two. Of course, every man for himself, and the devil take the hindmost. Although the deep-sea demonic whale king's actions weren't very good, Lu Yuan wouldn't find trouble with it. What really made him angry was that he could sense from the deep-sea demonic whale king that this fellow seemed to be coveting his divine body and the energy in his body. It wanted to eat him. This was something that he couldn't tolerate. How could he not be angry when he was being treated as food by the deep-sea demonic whale king? Then what should we do? Ning Rongrong was a little flustered when she saw the deep-sea demonic whale king getting closer and closer. However, when she thought about it, how many people wouldn't feel pressured when facing the deep-sea demonic whale king that was ranked second on the savage beast list? Don't be afraid. You guys stay here. I will deal with it, Lu Yuan said softly. I will go with you. Hearing Lu Yuan's words, Hulina couldn't help but say, I will go too. Zhu Zhuqing echoed. Us too. Everyone said in unison. No need. You guys are too weak. If you go, you will just be delivering food. Stay on the ship. I will be back soon, Lu Yuan said lightly, but his tone was full of determination. Then be careful, Hulina exhorted. Although she knew that Lu Yuan had the god-slaying spear, she couldn't help but be a little worried when he was going to fight with the deep-sea demonic whale king. Don't worry, Lu Yuan said softly. The fire and water dragon king wings stretched out from his back at the same time. Scorching flames and chilling cold air spread out. With a flap of the dragon wings, Lu Yuan's figure directly flew out and greeted the deep-sea demonic whale king. Seeing Lu Yuan fly out, the deep-sea demonic whale Xiaolan, who was beside the ship, quickly followed. Its spiritual wisdom wasn't weak. It also felt that something was wrong and wanted to stop the battle. Deep-sea demonic whale king. Lu Yuan's speed was extremely fast. Soon, he arrived at a place only 100 meters away from the deep-sea magic whale king. Standing in the air, at such a close distance, the huge body of the deep-sea magic whale king looked even more frightening. Moving his eyes slightly, Lu Yuan saw the deep-sea demonic whale king's blind eye. This was the eye that the sea god had pierced. Lu Yuan was looking at the deep-sea demonic whale king. The deep-sea demonic whale king's remaining eye was also looking at Lu Yuan. Its eyes were full of greed. The pure divine power gushing out from Lu Yuan's body really made it drool. Originally, it only came out to look for its daughter. It didn't expect that its luck would be so good. It encountered a human with such pure energy. If it absorbed him, it was sure that it could take the last step and completely complete its own divine body. You are courting death. Being stared at by the deep-sea demonic whale king, Lu Yuan suddenly became angry. The five-clawed golden dragon king martial soul instantly appeared in his body. A terrifying bloodline pressure instantly spread out. Chapter 923. The five-clawed golden dragon king's martial soul enveloped his body, and a terrifying aura filled the air. 6 red and 1 gold soul rings shone with resplendent light. A pair of dragon horns sprouted from Lu Yuan's forehead, and a pair of golden dragon wings unfurled from his back. Red, gold, and blue, 3 pairs of dragon wings of different colors flapped gently behind Lu Yuan, exuding an indescribable aura. The moment Lu Yuan's five-clawed Golden Dragon King's martial soul was released, the deep-sea Devil Whale King's aura was greatly suppressed by the five-clawed Golden Dragon King's bloodline. The deep-sea Demonic Whale King was originally a soul beast, and it walked the path of dragonization. It wanted to achieve the divine sea dragon body and become a demonic god. In this way, Lu Yuan's suppression of it was even greater. With Lu Yuan's suppression, the deep-sea Devil Whale King's demigod strength had already fallen to the peak of the limit Douluo realm. After all, even Gu Yuna's bloodline was affected, let alone the deep-sea Devil Whale King. It couldn't be more normal for it to be suppressed. This was the strength of the five-clawed Golden Dragon King. Even if the deep-sea Devil Whale King was replaced by Ditian, its strength would still fall under the suppression. Sandoria was able to display his full strength because he had a humanoid martial soul, which was very special. If it were any other soul master with a beast martial soul, they wouldn't be able to display their full strength in front of him. Suddenly suppressed by a huge bloodline pressure, the deep-sea demon whale king's remaining large eye had a trace of horror. This was the first time it had felt this kind of suppression. Even the sea god of the past could only defeat it in terms of absolute strength. It had never been suppressed like this before. However, the shock only lasted for a moment, and was replaced by even greater greed. It's good to have a strong bloodline. If I devour him like this, I'll get even more benefits. You're still so stubborn. Feeling the increasingly tyrannical greed of the deep-sea demonic whale king, Lu Yuan coldly snorted in his heart. His whole body shone with golden light, and the golden dragon battle armor, which had already evolved to god rank, directly covered his body. After wearing the dazzling golden dragon scale armor, Lu Yuan's aura once again increased by a large margin. "Come!" Lu Yuan lightly shouted. With a wave of his hand, a resonant dragon roar resounded. A 3-meter-long golden and jade-colored spear appeared in Lu Yuan's hand. It was the super divine tool, Dragon Emperor Draining Spring Spear. Lu Yuan's basic strength was indeed inferior to the deep-sea magic whale king, but he was a cheater. If his strength wasn't enough, he could make up for it with his equipment. After the golden dragon battle armor and the Dragon Emperor Draining Spring Spear were in his hands, his imposing manner was no worse than the suppressed deep-sea magic whale king. Feeling Lu Yuan's aura rising, the deep-sea magic whale king's eyes suddenly shrank. The current Lu Yuan gave it a great sense of threat. Roar! The whine of a whale sounded like the whistle of a ship, and the surrounding seawater suddenly rose by hundreds of meters. The monstrous waves crashed down on Lu Yuan. For the deep-sea magic whale king, controlling water was a very simple matter. The waves were monstrous, but Lu Yuan didn't even bat an eyelid. With a slight movement of his right hand, a several hundred-meter-high wave suddenly rose behind him, and directly met the incoming waves in front of him. He was also an expert in controlling water, and definitely not inferior to anyone. The two huge waves directly collided with each other, and in an instant, a loud bang was heard, splashing a layer of white water mist. Then, the huge wave behind Lu Yuan directly pressed down on the wave raised by the deep-sea magic whale king. In terms of controlling water, the deep-sea magic whale king was, after all, inferior to Lu Yuan, who possessed the bloodline of the five-clawed golden dragon king and had absorbed the external soul bone of the water dragon king. The true dragon's control of water was unparalleled in the world, not to mention the external soul bone of the water dragon king. Lu Yuan's ability to control water had reached an extremely terrifying level. And just like the Sea Soul Master had a bonus in fighting at sea, Lu Yuan could also use the power of the sea to enhance his fighting strength. He wasn't a Sea Soul Master, but he was better than one. "Take my move too!" Lu Yuan sneered, and stabbed out with the Dragon Emperor Drain Spring Spear. A dragon's roar resounded, and a 5-clawed golden dragon drilled out of the spear, flying and directly pouncing on the deep-sea magic whale king. The 5-clawed golden dragon flew with the wind, and in the blink of an eye, It had grown to several hundred meters in size. With a roar, it carried a huge dragon's might, and rushed towards the deep-sea magic whale king. Dragon Emperor Spear Art. Soaring Dragon, a brand new self-created soul skill. Ever since he obtained the Dragon Emperor Drain Spring Spear, Lu Yuan began to try to fuse his bloodline soul skill with his spear art. After all, there were too many self-created soul skills in the past, and many of them couldn't keep up with his current fighting strength, so it was necessary to create new skills. Now, he had two kinds of power, soul power and bloodline power. When used separately, they had decent attacking power, and when combined, it was undoubtedly a transformation. Under such circumstances, combining the spear art and bloodline soul skills that he had created in the past, Lu Yuan finally completed the fusion and sublimation on the original foundation. He created a brand new self-created soul skill, the Dragon Emperor Spear Art series. Dragon Emperor Spear Art. Soaring Dragon was one of the moves. Soaring Dragon inherited the powerful bloodline pressure of the hidden dragon in the abyss, and also fused the sharpness and penetration of the spear art, and had a very good attack. This was a powerful attack that was not inferior to the sea god's divine skill. Facing the huge five-clawed golden dragon, the deep-sea magic whale king's remaining eye flashed with a trace of seriousness. It opened its mouth and spat out a huge water column. This water column was completely different from the original water control. In addition to the water, it also contained the terrifying energy of the deep-sea magic whale king. This was not an ordinary attack, but its true strength. Bang! The five-clawed golden dragon collided with the huge water column, and exploded in midair at the same time. Both sides' attacks cancelled out, but Lu Yuan's expression didn't change at all. With a flap of his dragon wings, Lu Yuan's figure was already above the huge body of the deep-sea magic whale king. The Dragon Emperor Drain Spring Spear pierced out, and silver light flashed all over the sky. A silver-white five-clawed true dragon directly attacked the huge body of the deep-sea magic whale king. Dragon Emperor Spear Art. Meteor Silver Dragon, a powerful soul skill that came from the fusion of the spear art's meteor and bloodline. Its attack power was extremely terrifying, and the most powerful point was its speed, unparalleled attack speed. Ong! The terrifying attack from above attracted the attention of the deep-sea magic whale king. It hurriedly spat out a huge water column at Lu Yuan, and moved its body at the same time. However, sometimes, size was both an advantage and a disadvantage. How could a huge body of 800 to 900 meters be so easy to dodge? Chapter 924. The huge, silver-white five-clawed dragon whistled out and directly attacked the deep-sea demon whale king's body. Suddenly, a big hole appeared and blood gushed out. The deep-sea demon whale king cried out in pain, and the huge water column attacking Lu Yuan became even more powerful. Compared to the move that blocked his Dragon Emperor Spear Art, Soaring Dragon, this water pillar was the furious attack of the deep-sea demonic whale king. How powerful was it? Have you locked onto me? Feeling the aura lock onto him, Lu Yuan faintly smiled. With a wave of his hand, the Dragon Emperor Draining Spring Spear swept out horizontally, and the spear tip drew a strange trajectory. Two five-clawed golden dragons circled around each other, forming a huge golden vortex. Dragon Emperor Spear Art. Coiling Dragon Vortex. Spear Art. A new self-created soul skill evolved after the vortex fused with the power of the bloodline. This move was purely defensive, and its defensive ability was unparalleled under the heavens, even surpassing Unpredictable Disturbance. Unpredictable Disturbance was both a control and defensive skill. The Coiling Dragon Vortex had no control ability, but its defensive ability was beyond imagination. If Unpredictable Disturbance contained the profound meaning of the law of space, then the Coiling Dragon Vortex contained the profound meaning of the law of Devour. Of course, it was only the tip of the iceberg of the law of Devour. When Lu Yuan obtained the 4 moves of the sea god's 13 halberds, He was determined to create a spear art that was not inferior to the sea god's 13 halberds. Today, he had achieved some result. He created the Dragon Emperor spear art. Of course, the Dragon Emperor spear art was not perfect yet, but each move was not inferior to the sea god's 13 halberds. In the future, when Lu Yuan's strength improved and he created an even more powerful spear art, it might even surpass the sea god's 13 halberds. After all, the sea god's 13 halberds were created by Poseidon, and Lu Yuan never thought that he was inferior to him. On the contrary, he always believed that he was stronger than Poseidon. As for why it was called the Dragon Emperor spear art, the reason was actually very simple. It was because this spear art was executed with the Dragon Emperor draining spring spear, nothing more. Of course, Lu Yuan would never admit that it was because he was bad at naming. The huge water column, which was hundreds of feet in size, was imbued with boundless energy. It directly slammed into the huge golden vortex in front of Lu Yuan. As soon as he touched it, the golden vortex spun rapidly, and the terrifying energy in the water column was absorbed. Without the support of energy, the huge water column suddenly scattered into clear seawater and poured directly into the sea. The golden vortex in front of Lu Yuan was still intact, as if it had not been affected at all. Seeing this scene, the demonic whale king's huge eyes flashed with a trace of surprise, but soon after, the pain from its body made its eyes flash with an ominous glint. Sure enough, having a big body does have its advantages. Its fat is too thick. Even with the meteorite silver dragon's attack power, it didn't cause too much damage. Looking at the huge wound on the demonic whale king's body, which was 4 to 5 meters in diameter, Lu Yuan couldn't help but shake his head. Such a big wound was absolutely serious for an ordinary 100,000-year soul beast, and could even take its life. But for the demonic whale king's huge body, which was 800 to 900 meters long, it was only equivalent to a small cut on the arm of a person. It hurt a little and then bled a little, but it couldn't hurt its foundation. One wound can't hurt you, but what about 10, 100, or even 1,000? Lu Yuan laughed. The 3 pairs of dragon wings on his back shook, and his figure turned into a golden light. The Dragon Emperor draining spring spear in his hand left a wound on the demonic whale king's body. The demonic whale king also launched a counterattack, but although it had a powerful attack power, it couldn't hit the astonishingly fast Lu Yuan. For a time, relying on the advantage of speed and the sharpness of the Dragon Emperor draining spring spear in his hand, Lu Yuan gained a lot of advantages. The blood flowing from the demonic whale king's body dyed the surrounding seawater a blood red. After dodging a purple lightning bolt that attacked him, Lu Yuan's Dragon Emperor draining spring spear left a big hole on the demonic whale king's body and let it bleed a little. What a good demonic whale king! The energy contained in its body is probably a lot less than that of the big meat silkworm. It's a pity that the energy is accumulated in its enormous body and can't be used at all. Looking at the berserk energy surging from the demonic whale king's body, Lu Yuan sighed softly. His figure moved, and he flew into the air. The demonic whale king's body was too big, and it contained a lot of energy, but it could only control 3 to 4 layers out of 10. In Lu Yuan's opinion, if the demonic whale king could use all of its energy, its strength would probably surpass that of a false god, and be infinitely close to that of a god. Even Tian wouldn't be its opponent. From a certain point of view, it was a little similar to the Skydream iceworm. The Skydream iceworm only knew how to eat, and didn't know how to use it at all. He ate himself alive, and became a heavenly treasure that every soul beast yearned for even in their dreams. The demonic whale king knew how to use it, but the energy in its body was too enormous, and it could only control a part of it. This might have something to do with the fact that it relied on devouring other sea soul beasts to cultivate. If a human soul master suddenly increased their strength by too much, their control over their soul power would become rusty, and they might even lose control. Furthermore, the demonic whale king relied on devouring other sea soul beasts to cultivate, and it encountered very few sea soul beasts, so it rarely had the chance to fight. After so many tens of thousands of years, it couldn't be more normal for it to not be able to completely control its own energy. Furthermore, this fellow had actually reached the demigod realm long ago, and its realm had been stagnant for a long time. However, it was still accumulating energy, so it would be strange if it didn't have a lot of energy in its body. Lu Yuan was in the air, and his eyes flickered as he looked at the demonic whale king, whose entire body was suffused with purple lightning. He didn't attack, because the energy surging from the demonic whale king's body was too berserk. If he attacked, he would be injured by the backlash of the energy. Are you serious? Lu Yuan smiled faintly. Di Tian could transform into a human form, let alone the demonic whale king. He could tell what the demonic whale king was thinking at a glance. If it fought with him in its original form, it would have more energy and stronger defense, but its speed would be too slow. It could only be cut by Lu Yuan's soft knife, and it would bleed continuously. Once it transformed into a human form, although it couldn't use as much energy as its original form, its speed would increase. Furthermore, the energy in the demonic whale king's body was terrifying. Even if it transformed into a human form, the amount of energy in its body was still a terrifying number. With a flash of purple light, the demonic whale king's huge body disappeared, and a 2-meter-tall middle-aged man appeared in front of Lu Yuan. He was blind in one eye, and he was wearing a purple armor. Lu Yuan was very familiar with this armor. It was the armor of a god. Chapter 925. Godly equipment. This deep-sea monster whale king also had godly equipment, and from the looks of it, it was quite complete. Compared to Lu Yuan's demigod equipment, the deep-sea monster whale king's godly equipment was more complete, and it wasn't much different from an ordinary god's godly equipment. Furthermore, this deep-sea monster whale king also had a demigod body, and the transformation of his godly body was almost complete. He was just one step away from condensing his godly body. His middle-aged man form was just standing there quietly, but it brought an indescribable pressure to Lu Yuan. The appearance of the godly equipment greatly increased the deep-sea monster whale king's suppressed aura, and it returned to the demigod level, and the sense of danger became even stronger. Very strong, unbelievably strong. Without the dragon god's claw, Di Tian definitely wouldn't be a match for the deep-sea monster whale king. Looking at the human form of the deep-sea monster whale king in front of him, Lu Yuan made his own judgment. Before meeting the deep-sea monster whale king, he thought that Di Tian should be stronger than the deep-sea monster whale king. But now, the deep-sea monster whale king's strength was beyond his imagination. With a complete set of godly equipment and a physique that was one step away from entering the godly level, even if Di Tian used the dragon god's claw, he would at most be able to fight it to a draw. It was basically impossible for him to win. As expected of the existence closest to a million-year soul beast in the world. Lu Yuan's eyes flickered. Even if this deep-sea monster whale king didn't step into the million-year level, it wasn't too far away. Clenching the Dragon Emperor draining spring spear in his hand, Lu Yuan's eyes became sharp. The stronger the deep-sea monster whale king was, the more excited he was. Human boy, you're very good. You have such fighting strength with only rank 79 soul power, even the former sea god is far inferior to you. The deep-sea monster whale king spoke softly, and his eyes were filled with deep surprise. 6 red and 1 gold, it was really the first time he saw a human soul master with such a soul ring configuration. Moreover, a mere rank 79 soul master could actually fight it so fiercely without being at a disadvantage. It had to be said that it was really unbelievable. See God? Don't compare me with him. He's just someone I'll surpass sooner or later. Lu Yuan pointed the tip of the Dragon Emperor draining spring spear towards the ground as he spoke indifferently. Very ambitious. If you were given time, you might really be able to surpass him. But I'm afraid you won't have the chance. If I devour you, I'll definitely be able to take the final step and successfully transform into Neptunia, becoming the world's first demon god." The deep-sea demonic whale king laughed and looked at Lu Yuan with eyes full of greed. "You're ugly, but your dreams are pretty good. You should be glad that you haven't broken through to the god rank, otherwise you would have died long ago. The god realm doesn't allow soul beasts to become gods. Once you break through, the commotion caused by your breakthrough will definitely attract the attention of the god realm. At that time, you will face the pursuit of the God Realm's law enforcement team. Death will be your only fate," Lu Yuan said coldly, his tone carrying a trace of disdain. After Raging Flame and the God of Wine revealed her god-tier strength, she was hunted down by the Azura God's subordinate, the Azura God. If she wasn't the female lead, she would have died long ago without even leaving behind ashes. Don't you see that Gu Yuna is restraining her strength? Once her strength is exposed, she will directly face the entire god realm. I don't believe you, brat. Don't think you can fool me. Today you and I will eat. Hearing Lu Yuan's words, the deep-sea demonic whale king flew into a rage. A purple trident appeared in his hand, with rich divine power circulating around it. His figure moved, and the trident in his hand stabbed towards Lu Yuan. "It's hard to persuade a damned ghost. Originally, I wanted to give you one last chance to live for Shaolan's sake. Unfortunately, you didn't cherish it. Since that's the case, you can go die." Lu Yuan shouted, and his body shone with many rays of light, forming a set of 5-colored divine armor. This was Lu Yuan's demigod set. Even though it was only a piece of demigod equipment, it contained the Golden Dragon armor, the second-generation Golden Dragon right arm bone, and the wings of the Water and Fire Dragon King. Even though it was only a piece of demigod equipment, its power was definitely not inferior to that of a true godly equipment. In fact, it was even more powerful. With the divine armor on his body, Lu Yuan's aura was close to that of a demigod. He wasn't any weaker than the deep-sea demonic whale king at this moment. With the 5-colored demigod set, the current Lu Yuan's strength had risen to the highest point in his life. He held the Dragon Emperor Drained Spring Spear in his hand, and directly stabbed out with an extremely terrifying power. The Dragon Emperor Drained Spring Spear and the deep-sea demonic whale king's trident collided, and an extremely terrifying energy fluctuation was triggered. With the two of them as the center, a shock wave swept out, bringing with it layers of sea wave. The sea waves were monstrous, and crazily surged in all directions. "Come and fight!" Lu Yuan shouted, and the Dragon Emperor Drained Spring Spear stabbed out again. This time, it was the sea god's divine skill, 1,000 Years Void. The sea god's consummate skill. Seeing this move, the deep-sea demonic whale king became even more furious. It seemed to recall the scene of being suppressed by the sea god, and its blinded eye. The purple lightning on the deep-sea demonic whale king's body became even denser, and its attack became even more powerful. Boom! The spear and trident collided, and thunder exploded. The sound of a dragon's roar was unceasingly heard. The two of them fought from the sea surface to the sky, and then from the sky to the bottom of the sea. It was extremely intense. Every move was powerful enough to split mountains and overturn seas. Below the divine level, it would be difficult to find a more intense battle. The deep-sea demonic whale king had endless energy, and it had a slight advantage in terms of aura. Lu Yuan had the Dragon Emperor Drained Spring Spear, and his attack was even more terrifying. The battle between the two of them could be said to be inseparable. Because of the fierce battle between the two of them, it even directly triggered a tsunami. The sea water crazily rose, blotting out the sky and covering the earth. It carried a terrifying power that was enough to destroy everything. Ong! A huge wave hit Little Blue, who had just swam over to the side. That huge force caused it to suddenly flip over, and it couldn't help but let out a wail cry. It struggled to twist its body, and then continued to swim towards the battlefield between Lu Yuan and the deep-sea demonic whale king. It wanted to stop this battle. It had a premonition that if it didn't arrive in time, it might lose something important. Moreover, one of them was its father, and the other was a person it liked and relied on. It didn't want to see either of them get hurt. In the center of the battlefield, a terrifying energy burst out. Cracks appeared in the space, and huge depressions appeared in the sea. The battle between the two of them was enough to destroy the heaven and earth. If this wasn't the sea, perhaps a city would have been destroyed in their hands. Demigods, as existences who had one foot in the divine realm, their battle had long surpassed the imagination of ordinary people. Chapter 926. Dragon Emperor Spear Technique. Vast ocean dragon waves. Lu Yuan shouted in a low voice and thrust out the Dragon Emperor Drain Spring Spear. The endless seawater condensed out of thin air, and a blue five-clawed true dragon of several hundred feet in size emerged. The dragon roared, and the dragon's might filled the sky, bringing with it an extremely terrifying might. This was a new spear technique, created by the fusion of the vast ocean with the power of the bloodline. Dragon Emperor Spear Technique. Vast ocean dragon waves. The power of this move was actually not the strongest among Lu Yuan's self-created soul skills, but when the battle environment was changed to the sea, it was completely different. With the help of the seawater, the power of this move directly surpassed the meteorite Silver Dragon and Soaring Dragon, and was second only to the Dragon Emperor Spear technique created by Lu Yuan by fusing the murderous aura and the power of the bloodline. The blue five-clawed true dragon roared, bared its fangs and brandished its claws, and directly pounced on the deep-sea devil whale king. This kid has endless powerful moves. The attack power of this move is even stronger than the sea god's halberd technique. A trace of seriousness flashed across the deep-sea devil whale king's eyes. The trident in his hand directly stabbed out, and the blue seawater and purple lightning completed a perfect fusion in his hand. A deep-sea devil whale king hundreds of meters in size swished its tail, and directly met the whistling five-clawed true dragon. Bang! In an instant, energy surged, and a terrifying explosion sounded. Blue and purple energy swept out, and Lu Yuan's figure was directly shaken back thousands of meters. Similarly, the deep-sea devil whale king's figure was also shaken back thousands of meters. The seawater exploded, and the terrifying energy swept out. Xiaolan, who had just swam up, was directly affected by this energy and was directly thrown hundreds of meters away. It spat out a large mouthful of blood and let out a miserable cry. A battle between demigods was not something that ordinary existences could intervene in. Even if it was just a little bit of the aftermath, it was not something that Xiaolan could withstand. It was very difficult for those below the ultimate Douluo to step into the battlefield between them. Terrifying energy fluctuations spread out, setting off an even more violent tsunami. Nana, another tsunami is coming. Evil Moon's face was solemn. This tsunami was even larger than the previous one. In their current state, it would be difficult for them to withstand it. If they were not careful, the ship would be smashed to pieces by the wave. Open the protective shield, Hulina said calmly. Her pink eyes stared at the center of the battlefield, which was filled with terrifying fluctuations, with a trace of worry in her eyes. The battle was so intense that even though she trusted Lu Yuan very much, she couldn't help but feel a little worried. Understood. Hearing Hulina's words, Evil Moon nodded and opened the ship's protective shield. A huge blue light shield directly enveloped the entire ship. This ship was actually a soul tool. Of course, it wasn't made by Lu Yuan. He didn't have the time to do so. Instead, he had taken it out from the Dragon King Hall's inventory. The grade of the ship wasn't low. In fact, it could withstand the wind and waves. However, the battle between Lu Yuan and the deep-sea demonic whale king was too terrifying. The power of the tsunami was too great. Therefore, they had no choice but to activate the protective shield. With the protective shield, no matter how terrifying the tsunami was, it wouldn't be a threat to the ship. I don't know how the battle is going. The dazzling energy of the explosion and the sound of the explosion, even from so far away, can still be heard clearly. Zhu Zhuqing's jade-like hands were tightly clenched into fists. There was a trace of worry in her big black and white eyes. Although she knew that Lu Yuan was very strong, facing the deep-sea demonic whale king and watching such a terrifying battle scene, she was still a little nervous. She was afraid that Lu Yuan would be injured. The battle is too intense. It's much more terrifying than the battle with the great consecrator. Hulina's eyes didn't move as she said softly. But he won't lose, right? Zhu Zhuqing looked at Hulina as if to get confirmation. Yes, he will win. Hulina nodded and said, he is our man. He will win. I have never doubted that Obuchi is the most powerful. No matter who the opponent is, he will never lose. Ning Rongrong said softly. Her big sapphire-like eyes were sparkling and full of trust. If there was someone who was Lu Yuan's #1 fan, then it would definitely be her. She firmly believed that Lu Yuan must be the most powerful. She was simple but stubborn. In this aspect, even Hulina was somewhat inferior to her. Rongrong is right, he will never lose. Zhu Zhuqing seemed to have received encouragement, and her tone became unusually firm. Lu Yuan will not lose and absolutely cannot lose. Obuchi, you must win. Listening to the words of Zhu Zhuqing and Ning Rongrong, Hulina clasped her hands and murmured in a low voice. What a great deep-sea demonic whale king! Lu Yuan wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth with a dignified look in his eyes. He had already gone all out, but he was still tied with the deep-sea monster whale king. In the terrifying exchange just now, the deep-sea monster whale king was injured, but he was also injured. The fighting strength of the two could be said to be about the same. Brat, you're also very powerful to actually be able to fight with me to this extent. I have to admit that you're indeed a heavenly genius. However, you can contend against me for a period of time, but you have a major shortcoming. Your cultivation is too low, and your soul power is insufficient. Let me guess, are you left with 3 or 4 layers? Tisk tsk. How much longer can you fight with me? When your soul power is exhausted, your end will come. Boy, don't struggle, obediently let me eat you. The corner of the deep-sea monster whale king's mouth rose. It was very happy. The boy in front of it was indeed a rare genius, but his soul power was insufficient. In the end, he would die in its hands. You are right. I only have 40% of my soul power left, but it is more than enough to kill you. Lu Yuan sneered. The Dragon Emperor draining spring spear was directly transferred to his left hand. His right hand swept across the air, and an extremely terrifying murderous aura erupted from Lu Yuan's body. An illusory spear shadow appeared in Lu Yuan's hand. Along with the injection of soul power, a 3-meter-long pitch-black spear appeared in Lu Yuan's hand. A terrifying aura that seemed to be above the heaven and earth was emitted from the spear. Looking at the spear and feeling the extremely terrifying murderous aura, the deep-sea monster whale king's heart jumped. A thick sense of death arose in his heart. This spear could kill him. If he was hit by this spear, he would die, he would really die. What the hell is this thing? Looking at the god-slaying spear in Lu Yuan's hand, the deep-sea monster whale king's face was filled with fear. The baleful aura of this spear made his heart tremble. Chapter 927. What the hell is this? Lu Yuan sneered and glanced at the deep-sea demonic whale king with killing intent in his eyes. Then I'll be merciful and tell you. This is called the god-killing spear. Not to mention you, even if it's a god, it can still kill him. God-killing spear? The deep-sea demonic whale king was even more frightened. He was originally as timid as a mouse. When facing the sea god's projection, he was like a bird startled by the twang of a bow. Now that he was facing a life and death crisis, he was already panicking. Die! Lu Yuan shouted and stabbed the god-killing spear in his hand. There was no flashy spear technique. It was just a simple stab. In an instant, the wind stopped, the clouds stopped, and even the space seemed to be still. There was only a black spear suffused with blood light that pierced straight towards the deep-sea demonic whale king. I've been locked on by the murderous aura and can't dodge? Being locked on by the god-killing spear, the deep-sea demonic whale king suddenly felt an extreme sense of crisis. If he couldn't block this spear, he would definitely die. Sir, please spare my life. I'm willing to submit to you. Seeing the god-killing spear getting closer and closer to him, the deep-sea demonic whale king was scared. Under the urging of the death crisis in his heart, he immediately opened his mouth to beg for mercy. Submit? No need. You bastard, you have no credibility. Kill and be done with it. Lu Yuan snorted coldly. The god-killing spear didn't stop and continued to stab straight ahead. With the deep-sea demonic whale king's treacherous personality, Lu Yuan wouldn't believe half a word he said. Now, once he took back the god-killing spear, this guy would definitely run away immediately. At that time, it wouldn't be easy to find him in this vast sea. So, he might as well kill him and be done with it. Moreover, his god-killing spear was still lacking a soul ring. With the deep-sea demonic whale king's age, he was barely worthy of his god-killing spear. Since you don't want to give me a way out, then I'll fight you to the death. Seeing Lu Yuan's unyielding attitude and insisting on killing him, the deep-sea demon whale king was enraged. Since Lu Yuan didn't give him a way out, then even if he died, he would drag Lu Yuan down with him. The fish will die, but the net won't break. Those who kill will be killed. Since you want to eat me, don't blame me for being impolite. Furthermore, I gave you a chance to live, but you didn't cherish it. Now, it's my turn to take a fancy to your soul ring and soul bone. Lu Yuan sneered. The murderous aura on the god-slaying spear soared again as it pierced towards the deep-sea demon whale king's forehead. Block it. The deep-sea demonic whale king brandished its purple trident towards Lu Yuan's god-killing spear, wanting to block the god-killing spear's sharpness. The trident of the deep-sea magic whale king was not a low-grade weapon. It kept nodding its huge head, and its pair of big eyes were full of tears. It was pleading Lu Yuan to be lenient. Seeing this scene, Lu Yuan's heart trembled. Looking at the pleading Xiaolan, his heart couldn't help but soften. But when his gaze swept over the deep-sea demonic whale king, who was hugging his arm and howling, the killing intent in his eyes skyrocketed. Letting the deep-sea demonic whale king go like this? That was absolutely impossible. Everyone had to pay for their own actions, and the deep-sea demonic whale king was no exception. Die! Lu Yuan coldly said. He lifted the god-killing spear and was about to stab the deep-sea demonic whale king. Seeing this scene, Xiaolan issued a mournful wail, and tears of blood flowed out from its eyes. Clang! The god-killing spear stopped between the deep-sea demonic whale king's eyebrows. Looking at the pained and helpless Xiaolan, he couldn't stab the spear any further. His heart softened. Consider yourself lucky to have such a kind daughter. Today, I won't kill you. Lu Yuan's eyes flickered, and he withdrew the god-killing spear in his hand. Really? Hearing this, the deep-sea demonic whale king was overjoyed. It had thought that it would die without a doubt, but it didn't expect that Lu Yuan would give Xiaolan face and not kill it. Really? Lu Yuan softly said. However, just as the deep-sea demonic whale king revealed a smile, Lu Yuan's tone changed, and he said, although you can avoid death, you can't escape punishment. Then what does Sir want? The deep-sea demonic whale king's body trembled, and it tentatively asked. I want you to sacrifice yourself. Lu Yuan lightly said. Sacrifice yourself? Hearing this, the deep-sea demonic whale king's complexion changed. What was the difference between this and death? Don't worry, I won't let you die completely. After the sacrifice, when the target becomes a god, you will be resurrected. Lu Yuan's indifferent voice sounded. Chapter 928. Oh! Hearing Lu Yuan's words, the deep-sea demonic whale king's complexion improved a lot. But even so, he still didn't want to sacrifice. Wasn't it better to live? You have no choice. Either sacrifice or die. Looking at the deep-sea demonic whale king's expression, Lu Yuan knew what he was thinking. He pointed the god-killing spear at the deep-sea demonic whale king's head and coldly said, "Then let's sacrifice it." Looking at the cold face of Lu Yuan, the deep-sea demonic whale king decisively admitted defeat. If he sacrificed, he would have a chance to be resurrected. But if he died, there would be nothing left. He wasn't stupid. He knew how to make such a choice. "At least you know what's good for you," Lu Yuan indifferently said. The killing intent in his eyes gradually subsided. His eyes slightly turned and glanced at Xiaolan. His eyes flashed with a touch of gentleness. "If it weren't for Xiaolan, you would have died today. Not to mention, you wouldn't have a chance to sacrifice. Moreover, sacrificing is not a bad thing for you." Lu Yuan withdrew his gaze and looked at the deep-sea demonic whale king, indifferently said, "Not a bad thing?" The deep-sea demonic whale king's mouth slightly twitched. "Could it be a good thing? Your current cultivation is infinitely close to 1,000,000 years, right?" Looking at the deep-sea demonic whale king, Lu Yuan softly asked. "Yes." The deep-sea demonic whale king nodded. In fact, he could have broken through 1,000,000 years long ago. It was just that he didn't have full confidence to pass the last 1,000,000 years lightning tribulation. Therefore, he had been forcibly suppressing his cultivation. To tell you the truth, even if you break through 1,000,000 years, you won't be able to become a god. The last 1,000,000 years lightning tribulation will completely submerge you and destroy you. And even if you are lucky enough to become a god, the divine realm will send a law enforcement team to eliminate you. Soul beasts can't become gods. This is the iron law of the divine realm. Lu Yuan gently said, "My lord, are you serious?" Hearing Lu Yuan's words, the deep-sea demonic whale king's heart trembled, and his complexion slightly changed. If Lu Yuan had said these words for the first time, the deep-sea demonic whale king thought that Lu Yuan was lying to him. But now there was no need to lie to him because his life was in Lu Yuan's hands. As for saying that Lu Yuan was trying to cheat him of his soul ring and soul bone, that was also impossible. As long as Lu Yuan stabbed him with his spear, his life would be gone, and the soul ring and soul bone would be easily obtained. Of course, I won't hide it from you. The current ruler of the soul beasts, the Silver Dragon King, is my confidant. You've lived for so long, you should know about the ruler of the soul beasts, right? Lu Yuan asked. Got it. The deep-sea demon whale king nodded. He naturally knew about the sovereign of soul beasts. No matter what, he was one of the longest-living soul beasts on the continent. Could it be that the soul beast sovereign told you about this? Asked the deep-sea devil whale king. Of course. She's a god, so her words can't be false. Also, do you know about the Great War in the Divine Realm? Lu Yuan asked. I'm not very clear about it, said the deep-sea demon whale king. Well, then I'll briefly tell you about it. Lu Yuan calmly told him about the Great War in the Divine Realm. After the defeat of the divine beasts, the 5 divine kings of the Divine Realm jointly set an iron law. In order to prevent the same thing from happening again, all soul beasts are not allowed to become gods. At most, they can only reach the false god realm. They will never be able to break through to the true god realm. And even if soul beasts have great fortune and cultivate to the divine realm, they will be regarded as heresy by the divine realm and exterminated. So when I say that you will never be able to cultivate to the divine realm in this lifetime, do you believe me? Looking at the deep-sea demon whale king, Lu Yuan asked indifferently. I believe you. The deep-sea demon whale king's expression was complicated. There was disappointment and a touch of despair. Anyone who knew that the path to becoming a god was cut off would feel the same as him. He didn't want to believe it, but Lu Yuan's words were reasonable, so he had no choice but to believe it. Also, when I said that sacrifice is a good thing for you, I wasn't lying. Now that you are seriously injured and pierced by the god-slaying spear, your god base has been destroyed, and you can no longer suppress your cultivation. In less than 100 years, your million-year tribulation will come. This tribulation is difficult to begin with, and it is impossible for you to pass it. You will definitely die. But sacrifice is different. Your soul can hide in a soul ring. When the time comes, as long as the target of your sacrifice becomes a god, they can revive you. At that time, you can achieve a different kind of eternal life. Isn't that better? Lu Yuan said softly. Hearing this, the deep-sea demon whale king's eyes lit up. One was facing death in 100 years, and the other was achieving a different kind of eternal life. As long as one wasn't stupid, they would know which choice to choose. Of course, he wasn't stupid. In fact, he was very treacherous. Sir, is it a sacrifice to you? If you want, I can make a sacrifice for you right now. Since he wanted to make a sacrifice, he had to find someone who could become a god. This way, he would have a chance to be revived in the future. In the deep-sea demon whale king's eyes, no one had a better chance of becoming a god than Lu Yuan. He was even sure that Lu Yuan could become a god. After all, a rank 79 person who could defeat him, a demigod, was unprecedented. It's not a sacrifice for me, but for someone else. But don't worry, she is also someone who will become a god. Lu Yuan shook his head and said. Originally, he was going to kill the deep-sea demon whale king and use him as the first soul ring of the god-slaying spear. But now, the situation had changed. He didn't need to kill the deep-sea demon whale king. Since the deep-sea demon whale king had become a sacrifice, Lu Yuan's thoughts had changed. The deep-sea demon whale king's soul ring was very good, but for the current Lu Yuan, it wasn't indispensable. This was because he still had the remnant soul and divine core of the fire and water dragon king in his mind. This was a first-class deity soul ring, far from what the deep-sea demon whale king could compare to. But if the soul ring was given to Bibidon, it would be very useful. Moreover, Bibidon just happened to lack the last soul ring to cultivate his twin martial souls to perfection. Dong Air, O Dong Air, I will bring the deep-sea demon whale king's soul ring back to you. When the time comes, how will you thank me? Thinking of the future scene, Lu Yuan couldn't help but smile. He was looking forward to Bibidon's pleasantly surprised look after he knew about this. Apart from Sir, is there such an existence? Listening to Lu Yuan's words, the deep-sea demon whale king was surprised. Apart from Lu Yuan, there was someone who could become a god. Were all humans so talented now? She is my woman, what do you think? Lu Yuan asked indifferently. Yes, 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 Sir's woman is naturally extraordinary. The deep-sea demon whale king understood. No wonder Lu Yuan was willing to give away a soul ring of this level. It turned out that the person was his woman. This made sense. Moreover, since she could be Lu Yuan's woman, her talent and cultivation must be extraordinary. Thinking that Lu Yuan said that the Silver Dragon King was also his confidant, the deep-sea demon whale king couldn't help but exclaim. The guy in front of it was a real big shot. Chapter 929. In the vast and boundless sea, there were two deep-sea demon whales swimming. One of them was only 40 meters long, while the other was huge, at least 800 to 900 meters long. Floating on the water, one couldn't see the end of it. Lu Yuan sat on the deep-sea demon whale king's back, slowly recovering his soul power. In the battle with the deep-sea demon whale king, he had consumed a lot of soul power, especially after using the god-slaying spear. He only had less than 20% of his soul power left. Thus, he took advantage of this opportunity to recover. The god-slaying murderous aura in the deep-sea demon whale king's body had been dealt with by Lu Yuan. However, one of its arms, which was a whale fin, couldn't be recovered. The damage caused by the god-slaying spear couldn't be recovered even with the clear chi god power. Regarding this point, even Lu Yuan couldn't do anything about it. The god-slaying spear was too overbearing. Everything that it touched would be completely destroyed by the terrifying murderous aura. Thus, Lu Yuan rarely used the god-slaying spear. Aside from the huge consumption, this was also one of the reasons. Unless it was a life-and-death enemy, or he was at the end of his rope, Lu Yuan wouldn't use the god-slaying spear. After circulating it slightly, Lu Yuan opened his eyes. At this moment, the soul power in his body had recovered to about 70%, which was enough. The rest would be automatically circulated by the clear chi scripture, so he didn't need to meditate anymore. Standing up, Lu Yuan's figure moved, and he arrived on Xiaolan's back. His right hand moved slightly, and rich clear chi god power flowed into its body, helping it recover from its injuries. This deep-sea demon whale was pure and kind, and also a little silly and cute. Lu Yuan actually liked it a lot. This time, he spared the deep-sea demon whale king mainly because of it. He had already told it about the deep-sea magic whale king's sacrifice. Although it was reluctant, it still agreed. At least this way, the deep-sea magic whale king wouldn't die and would have the chance to live forever. This was already very good. As for the deep-sea demonic whale king, although the matter of the sacrifice had been finalized, this guy was treacherous, cunning, and untrustworthy. However, its strength was also very strong. In order to better control it, Lu Yuan directly used the clear chi divine power to set up a restriction in its soul. As long as it dared to have any bad intentions, Lu Yuan could immediately shatter its soul and take its little life. As for whether or not the deep-sea demon whale king could get rid of the restriction, Lu Yuan wasn't worried at all. Even a god couldn't get rid of the restriction set up by the clear chi god power. Just like the sea god's heart, after that thing was refined by the clear chi divine power, the sea god could no longer control it. The clear chi divine power contained the power of the natural order. Its power was extremely terrifying. Other than the god-slaying spear that surpassed the natural order and the polychoria that had unlimited potential, there was really nothing that it could not handle. After a few minutes, Lu Yuan withdrew his right hand. At this moment, the injuries on Xiaolan's body had been completely healed. He sat down and gently patted Xiaolan's head. This little guy was really anxious this time. It risked its life to barge into the battle between him and the deep-sea demon whale king, and even got seriously injured. But then again, if it hadn't arrived in time, the deep-sea demon whale king would have died in his hands. After being patted on the head by Lu Yuan, Xiaolan let out a cheerful whine. After the matter was settled, it was in a good mood. Furthermore, Lu Yuan had spared the deep-sea demon whale king's life because of it. It was actually very grateful to Lu Yuan in its heart. Hearing Xiaolan's whine, Lu Yuan faintly smiled. This little guy was really lovable. It's a pity. The deep-sea demon whale king isn't a three-eyed golden lion after all. Xiaolan also can't transform at will like Qiu. In less than 100,000 years, it can only stay in the sea. It's a pity. This little guy is very cute. It would be great if I could bring it with me. Lu Yuan sighed softly. However, Lu Yuan's mind suddenly lit up as he thought of something. I remember that there's a type of form transformation pill in the complete alchemy solution. It seems to be able to help demonic beasts transform. Furthermore, after transforming, the demonic beast will have the cultivation speed of a human. Isn't this pill suitable for Xiaolan? Although it hasn't reached 100,000 years, Xiaolan can still transform with the form transformation pill. Not only can it change between its original form and human form at will, but it also doesn't have to waste its cultivation and recultivate. It can directly convert its cultivation into soul power of the corresponding rank. This is very wonderful. Furthermore, it's not just Shaolan. This pill is useful for all soul beasts. It can greatly increase a soul beast's strength. Speaking of which, why didn't I think of using such a powerful pill in the past? Should I go back and refine more form transformation pills to increase a soul beast's strength? No, that won't do. Once a soul beast has the cultivation speed of a human, coupled with the incomparably long lifespan of a soul beast, it won't take long. At most a few hundred years, the strength of soul beasts and humans will be completely imbalanced. At that time, the continent may be controlled by soul beasts and humans will be completely enslaved. This is very likely to happen. We still have to be cautious about this matter. After thinking about it, Lu Yuan rejected the idea of refining a large number of form transformation pills for soul beasts. He wanted humans and soul beasts to coexist peacefully, and not for soul beasts to dominate. That was close. If I really did what I did just now, I'm afraid I'll become a sinner of humanity. It's better to just refine one pill for Shaolan. As for the other soul beasts, forget about it for the time being. This form transformation pill absolutely cannot appear in large quantities. But fortunately, only I know how to refine this thing. Lu Yuan muttered. After a moment of silence, Lu Yuan raised his head. His double pupils slightly constricted. A ship a few miles away entered his eyes. It was their ship. Shaolan, speed up. With a trace of a smile at the corner of his mouth, Lu Yuan patted Shaolan's head. Shaolan let out a whale-like cry and flicked its tail. After recovering from its injuries, it quickly increased its speed. 2 whales and 1 person quickly moved towards the ship. In the blink of an eye, another week had passed since the battle between Lu Yuan and the deep-sea demon whale king. Lu Yuan and the other ships sailed on the sea. 2 deep-sea demon whales, 1 big and 1 small, followed on both sides of the ship. Since he had already subdued the deep-sea demon whale king, Lu Yuan naturally brought it along with him. He didn't want to let this fellow escape and cause trouble for no reason. Although there was a restriction in place and he wasn't worried about it escaping, in this vast sea, even with the restriction, it would take a lot of time to find it again. Lu Yuan was a person who didn't like to waste time, so it was better to simply bring it along with him. When the matter on the sea god's island was more or less settled, he would directly bring it back to the Martial Soul Palace and sacrifice it to Bibidon. It was convenient and fast. As for Shaolan, he already had the deep-sea demon whale king by his side, so it wouldn't make a difference. As for the conflict with the great white demon shark, it would be settled when the time came. He believed that this matter shouldn't be too difficult. Chapter 930. Obuchi. A pleasant voice rang in Lu Yuan's ears. Hulina's beautiful figure appeared beside Lu Yuan. Nana, you're here. Seeing Hulina, Lu Yuan's eyes lit up. He pulled Hulina's hand and let her sit on his body. We should be able to reach the sea god's island today, Lu Yuan said softly as he hugged Hulina's delicate body. Is that so? Hearing Lu Yuan's words, Hulina's pink eyes flashed. She really couldn't stand this boring voyage anymore. Her active temperament hasn't changed since she was young. If it wasn't for Lu Yuan accompanying her, she was afraid that she would have really gotten into trouble. And that's what the deep-sea demonic whale king said. Moreover, looking at the sea chart, we should be reaching the sea god's island soon. Lu Yuan said softly as he kissed Hulina's red lip. The deep-sea demonic whale king. Speaking of it now, I still feel like I'm dreaming. Obuchi, you're so amazing. You actually managed to tame a demigod-level super vicious beast. Hulina looked at Lu Yuan, her big eyes sparkling. Lu Yuan's ability really exceeded their imagination again and again. Amazing, right? It's your fortune to have a fiancé like me. Lu Yuan said with a smile as he pinched Hulina's jade nose. Humph, it's obviously your fortune to have a fiancé like us. You're saying the opposite. You should know that we're very popular. Hulina raised her head and said with a face full of pride. Thinking back to those days, she had a lot of admirers in the martial Soul Palace. Is that so? Don't tell me that I'm not welcome? Lu Yuan smiled faintly and asked rhetorically. Hearing this, Hulina was stunned. It seemed that there were quite a lot of people who liked this guy, and they were all beauties. Other things aside, there were still Duguyen and Yi Lingling coveting him on this ship. If it weren't for her, Zhu Zhuqing, and the other two keeping a close watch, who knows what would have happened? Even if Lu Yuan could control her, the two women might not be able to control themselves. Thinking of this, Hulina couldn't help but pout. It wasn't a good thing for her fiancé to be too outstanding. There were always women eyeing him. Ba Ji. Lu Yuan gave Hulina another kiss. Looking at Hulina's pouting mouth, she couldn't help it. She was really too cute. Don't worry, don't think too much. Don't forget what I said. I won't fool around anymore. Gently rubbing Hulina's forehead, Lu Yuan said softly. N. Hulina nodded lightly. With a smile on her lips, she leaned into Lu Yuan's embrace. Wow, Sister Nana, you're secretly monopolizing Obuchi again. A delicate voice sounded, followed by a fragrant wind. A soft and delicate body crashed into Lu Yuan's embrace. Lu Yuan stretched out his right hand and hugged her. Why aren't you sleeping anymore? You lazy worm? Looking at Ning Rongrong in front of him, Lu Yuan said gently. I missed you. Ning Rongrong said coquettishly. Her small face moved closer to Lu Yuan's and her red lips parted slightly. Her breath smelled like orchids. Her ice-blue eyes sparkled as she looked at Lu Yuan eagerly. Seeing her like this, how could Lu Yuan not know what she was thinking? He immediately rewarded her with a kiss. Ning Rongrong immediately beamed with joy. Looking at Ning Rongrong, Lu Yuan asked gently, Little girl, where's Zhu Qing? She's at the back. She just broke through level 64. Ning Rongrong whispered with an envious expression. She was only at rank 56. Not bad. Looking at Zhu Zhuqing who had walked up to him, Lu Yuan said with a chuckle. Not as good as you guys. Zhu Zhuqing shook her head. She was the weakest among Lu Yuan's women. As for Ning Rongrong, she wasn't considered a support type. Not as good as me. Hulina shook her head. She was 5 years older than Zhu Zhuqing, and was only at rank 69. Her talent wasn't that high. No, you're better. Your physique is not weak. The yearning heartbroken grass and the crystal blood dragon ginseng complement each other and have laid the foundation for you to become a god. Also, you have the Slayer domain. You're very talented now. Soul power isn't the only indicator that distinguishes geniuses. You have to look at them together, Lu Yuan said in a gentle voice. Stop arguing, I'm the weakest, Ning Rongrong said in a gentle voice. Lu Yuan's women were all too outstanding, and she was under a lot of pressure. It's my fault. Lu Yuan patted Ning Rongrong's head gently and said in a gentle voice, I'll give you everything you deserve. I won't let you fall too far behind. To date, the most precious thing he had given Ning Rongrong was the beautiful silk tulip, which was far less valuable than what Hulina and Zhu Zhuqing had received. Not only did they each receive a life spirit crystal, they also received 100,000-year-old soul bones. Zhu Zhuqing had the blue-silver emperor's right leg bone and the blood-winged golden mosquito's left arm bone, 200,000-year soul bones. Hulina had the radiant unicorn's left arm bone and the 1,000 ant emperor's torso bone, which was not inferior to 100,000-year soul bone. On the other hand, Ning Rongrong only had an ordinary 10,000-year skull bone and a 40,000-year torso bone. Even though Ning Rongrong had become his girlfriend later on, there was still a huge gap between them. There's no need for that. I don't care about that as long as you love me. Ning Rongrong shook her head with a serious expression. Silly girl. Lu Yuan looked at her with a doting expression and held her tightly in his arms, but he was determined to find an opportunity to strengthen Ning Rongrong. Master, we've arrived at the Sea God's Island. Deep-sea demonic whale monarch's voice sounded in Lu Yuan's mind. Both of them possessed extreme spiritual power, so they could communicate directly with one another. Lu Yuan released the two women and rose to his feet upon hearing the deep-sea demonic whale monarch's words. Sure enough, an island could already be seen in the distance. With his astonishing eyesight, Lu Yuan could even see the people walking around on the island. At the sight of Lu Yuan suddenly rising to his feet, Hulina and the others all turned to him with perplexed looks on their faces. "What's wrong, Obuchi? We've arrived at the sea god's island." Lu Yuan smiled faintly and pointed at the island not far away. At this moment they were still 8 to 9 miles away from the sea god's island, but even Hulina and the others could see the outline of the island clearly. "Yay, we've finally arrived." Hulina exhaled with a smile on her face. "We've arrived? That's great, I'm about to throw up from sitting on this ship." Ning Rongrong smiled faintly. She was also an impatient person. After drifting on the sea for more than half a month, she was bored to death. "Then let's speed up, I also want to see what the sea god's island looks like." Lu Yuan smiled faintly and said softly. He was also very curious about this famous sea god's island. Under Lu Yuan's command, the ship sped up again and quickly sailed towards the sea god's island. Chapter 931. Speeding up, the ship shot towards the sea god's island like an arrow leaving the bow. In less than a quarter of an hour, the entire sea god's island appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Sea god's island was huge, really huge. When they got close to it, they realized that it was at least the size of a small county. However, when they thought about it, it made sense. There were people living on Sea God's Island, and there were at least a few 100,000 people living there. The scenery on the Sea God's Island was also very beautiful, and the vegetation was also very lush. Lu Yuan and the others could clearly see these things. "My lord, the Sea God's Island is guarded by the Great White Demon Shark Clan. If you want to enter the island, you have to pass through their defense." The Deep-Sea Devil Whale King's voice sounded in Lu Yuan's mind. The Deep-Sea Devil Whale King was naturally very familiar with the Sea God's Island. It had been here more than once. "I understand," Lu Yuan replied softly. For others, it might be a little difficult to pass through the defense of the Great White Demon Shark Clan, but for him, it couldn't be more simple. "My lord, I have some conflicts with the Great White Demon Shark Clan. I'm afraid that we will cause a conflict if we go like this," the Deep-Sea Devil Whale King said again. It had once invaded the Sea God's Island, but it was repelled by Pasizi, who borrowed divine power. Speaking of which, the people on the Sea God's Island were very resistant to it. "Don't worry, I will handle it," Lu Yuan said indifferently. "Yes, my lord." The Deep-Sea Devil Whale King's voice slowly disappeared. Since Lu Yuan said so, it didn't have to worry. Moreover, taking a step back, Pasizi could repel it, but he definitely couldn't repel it and Lu Yuan. Even if this was Pasizi's home ground, and he could borrow the power of the sea god without any scruples, it would still be the same. Pasizi's strength was only that of a limit Douluo. For the current Lu Yuan and the Deep-Sea Devil Whale King, they could easily defeat him. Their true fighting strength was at the demigod level. Even if Pasizi borrowed the power of the sea god, he could only reach the demigod realm. Pasizi was no match for the two of them. Not to mention that Lu Yuan still had the god-killing spear. Even now, when the Deep-Sea Demon Whale King thought about it, its mind trembled. No one below the deity level would be able to block this thing. The Deep-Sea Demon Whale King didn't speak. It was silent as it stood beside Lu Yuan's ship. Naturally, compared to its huge body, Lu Yuan's ship was just a small dot. The difference was too great. "Zhu Qing, come here." Lu Yuan waved at Zhu Zhuqing, who was not far away. "What's wrong?" Seeing Lu Yuan wave at her, Zhu Zhuqing walked to his side in confusion. "I want to give this to you." Lu Yuan smiled as the Neptune's heart appeared in his hand. With a gentle wave of his hand, A few drops of blood floated out from the Neptune's heart. These were the drops of blood that he had absorbed when he refined the Neptune's heart. Of course, only he could force it out. This Neptune's heart could only be used by others if he was willing to give it to them. Otherwise, even if they obtained it, it would just be an ordinary triangular cover. Neptune's heart, Zhu Zhuqing said in surprise. Only when it recognizes you as its master will the Neptune's inheritance be yours. The Neptune's heart is the most important token of the Neptune's inheritance. Lu Yuan lightly said. Then what should I do? Zhu Zhuqing asked. Just drip a drop of blood on it. Lu Yuan gently said. Oh, Zhu Zhuqing softly said. Her thumbnail lightly scratched her forefinger, and a few drops of blood fell on the Neptune's heart, sinking into it. Suddenly, the Neptune's heart emitted a gorgeous blue light, and directly flew into Zhu Zhuqing's knowledge sea. Then, the power of the vast sea that belonged to the Neptune's heart quickly gushed out, nourishing Zhu Zhuqing's body and transforming her physique. Okay, done. Seeing that Zhu Zhuqing had successfully recognized him as its master, Lu Yuan faintly smiled. With the Neptune's heart, Zhu Zhuqing's inheritance was in the bag. Zhu Zhuqing closed her eyes and digested the information transmitted to her by the Neptune's heart. Lu Yuan didn't disturb her, and quietly stood to the side, guarding her. On one side, Lu Yuan was looking at Zhu Zhuqing, and on the other side, the patrol team of the Sea God's Island also discovered Lu Yuan and the others. Of course, the most eye-catching one was the deep-sea demonic whale king. Its huge body was 800 to 900 meters long, and it was very difficult for others to not see it. Moreover, at the same time when the patrol team discovered them, the great white demon soul sharks in charge of guarding the Sea God's Island also discovered them. When they saw the deep-sea demonic whale king, all the great white demon soul sharks became alert. They constantly roared, thinking that the deep-sea demonic whale king had come to invade the Sea God's Island again. Quickly go and report to the masters, there are enemies invading the Sea God's Island. A purple-robed middle-aged man shouted, and a group of yellow-robed sea soul masters behind him quickly left to report to the guardians of the seven saint pillars. Although they hadn't fought yet, the deep-sea demonic whale king's huge body had already frightened them. Not everyone on the Sea God's Island recognized the deep-sea demonic whale king. In fact, only a small number of people could recognize it. However, as a third-grade sea soul master, he still had basic eyesight. Such a huge soul beast wasn't something they could deal with. The Seahorse Saint Pillar was the closest to the Sea God's Island, so he was the first to receive the news. There are enemies invading the Sea God's Island? The Seahorse Douluo asked. What kind of enemies? A ship and a huge soul beast. It's 800 to 900 meters long, and it seems to be a whale, the yellow-robed soul master said. A whale that's 800 to 900 meters long? The deep-sea demonic whale king? The Seahorse Douluo was shocked. The deep-sea demonic whale king was an extremely terrifying soul beast. Even with the help of the Saint Pillar, he wasn't a match for it. On the entire Sea God's Island, only Pasizi could fight the deep-sea demonic whale king. No, I have to report this to the High Priestess, the Seahorse Douluo said. No need, I already know. Pasizi appeared in front of the Seahorse Douluo in a flash of light. Greetings, High Priestess, the Seahorse Douluo bowed. You stay here and guard the island. I'll go take a look, Pasizi said. Yes, High Priestess. The Seahorse Douluo relaxed when he heard that Pasizi was going to take action personally. In their hearts, Pasizi was invincible. Even the deep-sea demonic whale king wasn't a match for Pasizi. Yes. Pasizi nodded slightly. Her beautiful face was calm, but there was a trace of doubt in her eyes. Why is this kid with the deep-sea demonic whale king? She had already sensed Lu Yuan and the others when they approached the Sea God's Island. She naturally knew why Lu Yuan and the others were here, but they were accompanied by the deep-sea demonic whale king. This confused Pasizi. Chapter 932. Logically speaking, with the nature of the demonic Whale King, it would definitely eat Lu Yuan's group in one bite. Even if Lu Yuan's group had extraordinary strength, the most they could do was escape from the demonic Whale King's hands. How could they coexist peacefully with the demonic Whale King? Could it be that they have agreed to invade my sea god's island? Pasizi thought inwardly, but she immediately dismissed the idea. Lu Yuan's group is here to obtain the sea god's inheritance. They can't possibly be here to invade the sea god's island. But what's going on? After thinking for a long time, Pasizi still couldn't figure it out. Forget it, I'll know when I see it for myself. Pasizi sighed softly and disappeared in a flash. Obuchi, what should we do? The group of great white demonic soul sharks are blocking our way. Looking at the densely packed group of great white demonic soul sharks in front of them, Hulina anxiously asked, "What are you panicking for?" "I'm here, it's just a small matter," Lu Yuan said with a gentle smile. "I'm not worried about that. They are the soul beasts responsible for guarding the sea god's island. I'm afraid that if you injure them, the sea god will be unhappy. If that happens, Zhu Qing won't be able to obtain the sea god's inheritance," Hulina said. "Who said I'm going to injure them?" Lu Yuan asked with a faint smile. "Then how are you going to disperse them without injuring them?" Hulina asked doubtfully. "I have my own way." Lu Yuan smiled and looked at Zhu Qing, who still had her eyes closed. "Let's wait for a while. When Zhu Qing wakes up, I'll make my move. Otherwise, I'm afraid I'll startle her." "No need, I'm already awake." As soon as Lu Yuan's voice fell, Zhu Qing's cold voice rang out. Her clear black and white eyes stared unblinkingly at Lu Yuan. "Do you understand the various functions of the sea god's heart?" Lu Yuan asked softly as he looked at Zhu Qing. "Well, I understand. Thank you, Obuchi." Zhu Qing took 2 steps forward, threw herself into Lu Yuan's arms, and said softly. Only after refining the sea god's heart did she realize how precious this treasure was. She was even more moved. Lu Yuan was really good to her. "Why are you thanking me? Do you want to get spanked again?" Lu Yuan asked with a faint smile. Hearing this, Zhu Qing blushed and glared at Lu Yuan. Seeing this, Lu Yuan smiled and kissed Zhu Qing's lip. Then, he said to Hulina and the others, "You guys stay on the boat and deal with these great white demon soul sharks." "Yes." Hulina and the others nodded. They looked at Lu Yuan curiously. They wanted to see how Lu Yuan would deal with these great white demon soul sharks. Lu Yuan smiled again. Then, his body moved, and he rose into the air. He stood in the air and looked at the group of great white demon soul sharks guarding the sea god's island. The great white demon soul sharks were indeed worthy of being the sea god's mounts. They were very beautiful. Their bodies were pure white, and their skin glowed with a silver light. Furthermore, their bodies were very smooth and streamlined. They were even more beautiful than Shaolan. In front of the group of great white demon soul sharks, there were 3 largest sharks. 2 of them were around 80,000 years old. The leading one had a much stronger aura. It wasn't inferior to a rank 95 titled Douluo. It should be the king of great white demon soul sharks, Xiaobai, who had reached 100,000 years of cultivation. At this moment, it was looking at Lu Yuan with caution. The existence of the deep-sea devil whale king gave it an unparalleled pressure. Great white demon soul sharks. Forget it. I've never used this secret technique since I obtained it. Today, I'll use you guys to test it out. Lu Yuan chanted softly, and the 5-clawed golden dragon king martial soul immediately appeared in his body. His 7th golden soul ring blossomed with dazzling golden light, and an extremely frightening dragon's might instantly pervaded the air. Lu Yuan's figure flashed, and a 5-clawed golden dragon with a pair of wings on its back appeared in the air, circling in the air. 7th soul skill, 5-clawed golden dragon king true body. Lu Yuan's 5-clawed golden dragon king true body was 100 meters long. It shone with golden light and exuded a sacred and noble aura. Roar! Suddenly, the five-clawed golden dragon king opened its huge dragon mouth, and a dragon's roar containing an extremely terrifying aura came out. This dragon's roar was different from the ones Lu Yuan had released in the past. Not only was the pressure 10 times or even dozens of times stronger, but it also had a supreme aura that was above all beasts. Under this dragon's roar, all the great white demon sharks trembled at the same time. Their eyes were filled with deep fear. Almost in an instant, they completely surrendered and involuntarily prostrated themselves in front of Lu Yuan. Even the deep-sea devil whale king, a demigod-level super-fierce beast, was somewhat frightened. Even it was somewhat unable to bear this supreme aura. It was too terrifying. This kind of aura directly penetrated its bloodline, making it instinctively want to submit. Too terrifying. I didn't expect Sir to have such a powerful method. The deep-sea devil whale king tried its best to resist the feeling of submission in its heart, and secretly exclaimed in its heart. Dragon's Roar Technique. This was the technique Lu Yuan was currently using. It was one of the moves of the true dragon treasured technique that Lu Yuan had obtained. Among the 3 moves of the true dragon treasured technique, the Imperial Dragon Technique could transform true Qi into a true dragon to defend against the enemy. At the same time, it could also control all dragons in the world. It had an extremely terrifying control over the dragon race. The true Dragon Claw's attack was unparalleled. It could break through anything, and it could easily fight people above its level. Until now, Lu Yuan had never used it. All that was left was the Dragon Roar Technique. Once the Dragon Roar Technique was unleashed, all beasts would submit to it. Lu Yuan, in his 5-clawed Golden Dragon King true form, was enough to make the entire demonic soul great white sharks submit to him. Let's go! Lu Yuan's 5-clawed Golden Dragon King roared and directly opened the path in front. Wherever it passed, all the great white demon sharks would bow and submit, and make way for it. Very smoothly, the ship approached the sea god's island. Everyone also landed on the mainland. The 5-clawed Golden Dragon King once again let out a resounding roar, and then flew down to the ground. With a flash of golden light, it transformed back into Lu Yuan's figure. Lu Yuan stood on the island with Hulina and the rest behind him. In front of them was a group of sea gods' island patrols wearing purple and yellow clothes. However, right now they were looking at Lu Yuan with fear in their eyes. Their legs were trembling slightly. When Lu Yuan transformed into the 5-clawed Golden Dragon King, the pressure that he released was simply too terrifying. However, they still didn't retreat. Even though they were afraid, they still stuck to their duty and didn't give way. Lu Yuan couldn't help but have a higher opinion of them. "You're here." At this moment, a beautiful figure appeared in front of Lu Yuan. She had long blue hair, wore a gorgeous robe, and held a scepter inlaid with sapphires in her hand. She had a graceful temperament. She was the high priestess of the sea god's island, the sea god Douluo Pasizi. Chapter 933. Greetings, High Priestess. As soon as Pasizi appeared, the patrol team bowed. As the High Priestess of the Sea God's Island, Pasizi's status was extremely noble. Pasizi waved her hand gently in the face of the patrol team's greetings, and dismissed them. "Long time no see, Senior Pasizi." Lu Yuan greeted softly as he looked at Pasizi in front of him. They hadn't seen each other for 3 years, and Pasizi was still shockingly beautiful. Her long blue hair fell to her waist, and her beautiful face was like jade. Her aura was graceful and luxurious, and she also had a gentle feeling of tolerance. Her blue eyes were quiet and deep. She was truly a top-notch beauty in the world. Even Lu Yuan had to admit that this woman's beauty was comparable to Bibidon and Gu Yuna. Even if she wasn't as beautiful as Gu Yuna, she wasn't far off. In the past, it wasn't without reason that she could mesmerize Sindoryu and Tangchen. It's indeed been a long time. It's been close to 3 years, and you're finally here. I've been waiting for you for a long time. Pacizi smiled. Her smile was bright and moving, but it was also very gentle. It gave people a feeling of closeness. There were many things to do, and Zhu Qing also needed time to break through, so it took a lot of time. Lu Yuan said gently. Yes. Pacizi nodded gently. Her beautiful eyes turned and landed on Zhu Qing. Rank 64, and your physique is comparable to a soul Douluo. Not bad at all. A trace of satisfaction flashed across Pacizi's eyes. Zhu Qing had just turned 17, and she had reached rank 64. As an agility-type soul emperor, her physique was comparable to a soul Douluo's. It was very rare, and she was definitely a top-notch genius. Senior, you flatter me, Zhu Qing said in a neither servile nor overbearing manner. Lu Yuan smiled faintly. Zhu Qing had 100,000-year blue-silver emperor's right leg bone, 100,000-year blood-winged golden mosquito emperor's left arm bone, a 50,000-year wisdom skull, and a 70,000-year torso bone. Although Zhu Qing's soul power was only at rank 64, her physique was definitely not inferior to that of a high-level soul Douluo. His seventh soul ring was at least 80 to 90,000 years old. If he worked hard, he might even be able to reach 100,000 years old. But thinking about it carefully, these things on Zhu Qing seemed to be given by him. Thinking of this, Lu Yuan's face showed a trace of strangeness. Am I too partial to her? She then looked at Ning Rongrong beside her, and suddenly felt that she was indeed a little unfair to her. Yes. Pacizi nodded again. She was very satisfied with Zhu Qing's neither servile nor overbearing behavior. Her beautiful eyes swept across the room again, and stopped on Hulina. In her eyes, Hulina's talent was even higher than Zhu Qing's. Another peerless genius. Pacizi sighed softly. Hulina's condition naturally couldn't escape her eyes. In her eyes, Hulina's physique was comparable to a titled Douluo's, and it seemed to be slowly strengthening. This is... Pacizi pointed at Hulina and glanced at Lu Yuan. Hulina also my fiancée. Lu Yuan smiled faintly. Another fiancé? You seem to be a womanizer too. Pacizi shook her head in amusement. This fellow's luck with women was not bad. Furthermore, all of them were exceptional geniuses. However, with his exceptional talent, it wasn't surprising that he was so popular with women. What level are you at now? I can't see through you. Pacizi's gaze swept across the room before returning to Lu Yuan. With her high standards, only Zhu Qing and Hulina could surprise her. Although the rest were also geniuses, like Ning Rongrong and the others, Pacizi didn't see them in a different light. She was actually most interested in Lu Yuan. In her eyes, Lu Yuan was the best successor to the sea god's position. It was a pity that Lu Yuan didn't care about the sea god's inheritance. He's only a rank 79 soul sage. He's not worth mentioning. Lu Yuan smiled faintly. A 17-year-old rank 79 soul sage is not worth mentioning? When I was your age, I was much weaker than you. Furthermore, I don't believe that you're just an ordinary soul sage. You give me a faint sense of danger. It seems that you've improved a lot in these 3 years. Pacizi gazed at Lu Yuan and said softly. Hearing this, Lu Yuan shrugged his shoulders and did not comment. All right, let's get down to business. Pacizi's smile faded and she asked with a serious expression, Why are you with the deep-sea devil whale king? What's going on? Looking at the deep-sea magic whale king not far away, Poseidon's eyes were solemn. Even with the help of the sea god's power, she was only slightly stronger than the deep-sea devil whale king. Once she left the sea god's island, she wouldn't be its opponent even with the help of the sea. Therefore, she was actually very afraid of such a fierce beast. She was very puzzled. Why would Lu Yuan travel with such a fierce beast? It's better to let the deep-sea devil whale king explain it to me. Lu Yuan smiled faintly and issued a command with his spiritual power. The deep-sea devil whale king's huge body suddenly disappeared and turned into a middle-aged man in purple clothes. he appeared in front of Lu Yuan. Pacizi couldn't help but be startled when she saw the deep-sea devil whale king suddenly appear. She quickly took 2 steps back and her aura rose. "Sir." The deep-sea devil whale king bowed to Lu Yuan. Pacizi's aura rose suddenly and her aura slowly dissipated. "Sir." Pacizi looked at Lu Yuan with shock in her eyes. What did she just hear? The deep-sea devil whale king called Lu Yuan sir? The deep-sea devil whale king's hand? At this time, Pacizi finally noticed the deep-sea devil whale king's right arm. Its right arm was cut off. Seeing this scene, Pacizi was even more shocked. Who could cut off the deep-sea devil whale king's arm? "I cut off its arm. On the way here, I just happened to meet this guy. This guy wanted to eat me, so I naturally fought back. After a big battle, I was lucky enough to win and cut off its arm. Therefore, Senior Pacizi, you don't have to be afraid. It didn't come to invade the sea god's island." Lu Yuan explained with a smile. "You cut off its arm and subdued it?" Pacizi finally couldn't maintain her calm expression. Her face was full of shock. Even the sea god couldn't subdue the deep-sea devil whale king, but it was actually subdued by Lu Yuan? Moreover, if he could defeat the deep-sea devil whale king, didn't this mean that Lu Yuan's fighting strength was at least at the level of a demigod? A rank 79 soul sage's fighting strength was comparable to a demigod. Chapter 934. To be honest, Pacizi found it hard to believe. However, it was an indisputable fact that the deep-sea devil whale king was called Lu Yuan. It seemed like she had no choice but to believe it. "No wonder I could sense a dangerous aura from your body. No wonder." Pacizi stared at Lu Yuan for a long time, as if she were looking at a monster. He was probably the only person in the history of the Douluo continent who could defeat the deep-sea devil whale king at rank 79. He was a genius that surpassed the imagination of others. "Why don't we spar when we have time?" Poseidon stared at Lu Yuan without blinking. She wanted to test the strength of such a peerless talent herself. Pacizi had never been defeated since she debuted. She had only lost to Long Xiaoyao because the battlefield was disadvantageous for her. She could easily defeat Long Xiaoyao even if they were on the beach. Therefore, she didn't think much of that battle. She was a sea-type soul master, and the ocean was her battlefield. She had easily defeated Tang Qin and Sendoryu at sea. Her abilities were earth-shattering. However, she had only managed to force the deep-sea devil whale king back. Lu Yuan was able to defeat it. Not only did he break one of its arms, he even subdued it and completed a feat that even the sea god couldn't accomplish. To be honest, Pacizi really wanted to spar with Lu Yuan. She wanted to see how strong he was. After hearing Pacizi's words, Lu Yuan smiled and said, "Since Senior Pacizi is interested, I can't reject you. I'll definitely spar with you when I have time. I don't have many opportunities to give my all. It's my fortune to have an opponent like you to spar with." With Lu Yuan's current abilities, it was very difficult for him to find another opponent. Sendoryu was already a thing of the past. He was no longer a match for Lu Yuan, even if he used his divine power. Long Xiaoyao was the same. Under the suppression of his martial soul, he was probably even weaker than Sendoryu. As for Tang Qin, he was still in Massacre City. It was hard to say exactly how strong he was. However, he was at most a demigod, and a broken demigod at that. He was no match for the demigod Whale King, and naturally, he was no match for Lu Yuan. And the only one left was Pacizi. Using his divine power, Pacizi's strength was definitely not weaker than the deep-sea demonic Whale King. He might even be a little bit stronger than the deep-sea demonic Whale King. For the current Lu Yuan, he was definitely a good opponent. After all, without using the god-slaying spear and the true dragon claw, which allowed him to fight above his level, his combat power was only at the demigod realm, which was about the same as the deep-sea demonic Whale King. Fighting with Pisizi was definitely a good opportunity for him to hone his strength. That's great. After hearing Lu Yuan's agreement, Pisizi revealed a smile on his face. Don't be fooled by his calm and graceful demeanor. In fact, he had a thirst for battle. After all, how could he not have experienced a few battles when he was able to cultivate to the extreme realm? He didn't fight normally because he hadn't met a suitable opponent. All right, since everything is clear, I'll bring all of you to the Seahorse Divine Pillar to accept the Sea God's test. Only by accepting the Sea God's test can all of you stay here legitimately. Pisizi looked at Lu Yuan and the rest and spoke gently. Yes, Senior Pisizi is right. Everyone, follow me. You should come with us too. Lu Yuan glanced at the deep-sea demonic whale king. Yes, my lord. The deep-sea demonic whale king replied. Is that all right, Senior Pisizi? Lu Yuan asked. It's all right. However, you have to take care of him. Don't let him cause trouble everywhere, Pisizi said. I will. Lu Yuan replied softly. By the way, Senior Pisizi, there is still a young deep-sea demonic whale in the sea. It only has a cultivation of 50,000 years. Its character is very simple and kind. I don't feel at ease leaving it alone. Can we bring it along? Lu Yuan asked. Don't worry. I will let Little White bring it to the ring-shaped sea. If I'm not wrong, your first test will be at the ring-shaped sea. Pisizi said. The ring-shaped sea should be under the Sea God Palace, right? Lu Yuan asked. How do you know? Pisizi looked at him with some doubts. Ahem, I guessed. Lu Yuan coughed. He couldn't say that he had read about it in a book. Pisizi looked suspiciously at Lu Yuan and said softly, Follow me. The group followed Pisizi and walked towards the Seahorse Divine Pillar. Greetings, High Priest. Seeing Pisizi, the Seahorse Douluo immediately bowed. This is the CC. The Seahorse Divine Pillar. This is the guardian of the Seahorse Divine Pillar, the Seahorse Douluo. You will be taking the Sea God's test here today. Pisizi pointed at the Seahorse Divine Pillar that was hundreds of feet tall in front of them and said plainly. However, if you want to take the test successfully, you will have to pass through the CC. Otherwise, you will not be qualified to take the Sea God's test. As soon as he finished, Poseidon added, Don't worry. That's it? Lu Yuan asked with a smile. That's it. It should be very simple for you. Pisizi smiled. It is indeed not challenging. However, Senior Pisizi, can we only go alone or can we bring others with us? Lu Yuan asked with a smile. Up to you. As long as you can pass. Pisizi said. That's simple. Let's go. Lu Yuan smiled. He took the lead and stepped into the CCC. The CCC was just a huge pool of water with a diameter of 500 meters. There was a platform in the middle of the pool, and the Seahorse Divine Pillar stood on this platform. The entire platform was only about 200 meters away from the shore. There were undoubtedly aquatic soul beasts in the CC. The so-called difficulty of passing through the CCC was just the attacks of the aquatic soul beasts and the waves created by the Seahorse Douluo. However, for Lu Yuan, controlling water was the easiest. Of course, he did not plan to control water today. Instead, he wanted to control ice. After stepping into the CC, Lu Yuan walked on it. An icy blue light spread from his feet. Wherever the light spread, the seawater would freeze. Not long after, the entire CCC was covered with a thick layer of ice. Follow me. Lu Yuan took the lead. Hulina and the rest followed behind Lu Yuan. It was so convenient to have an invincible leader leading the way. They could win without having to do anything. When the Seahorse Douluo saw this, his face turned green. The entire CCC was covered in ice. How was he going to control it? Aquatic soul masters had a great advantage in the water. However, there was no perfect thing in the world. They also had their nemesis, and that was ice-type soul masters. When the seawater froze, not only would the so-called water not be of help to them, but it would also be a great hindrance to their control of water. Ice came from water, but it could sometimes restrain water. Chapter 935. Lu Yuan had the bloodline of the five-clawed Golden Dragon King, so he could control ice a little. Furthermore, he had obtained the bone water dragon wings from the Water Dragon King, so his control of ice was even stronger. The Water Dragon King was also known as the Ice Dragon King. It was a water elemental holy dragon, and it could control ice while controlling water. It was different from the sea god. The sea god's element was a combination of light and water, so it could only control pure water. The Water Dragon King was different. Its divine domain was similar to the water god of the seven elemental gods. It could control both water and ice. Logically speaking, the sea god's divine position should be lower than the water god's. After all, the water god controlled the water element, which meant that it controlled all water in the world. The sea was also under the water god's control. This meant that the sea god's strength should be inferior to the water god's. However, the sea god was ranked at the top of the Tier 1 gods, and was even stronger than the water god. This was actually very strange. As for why this was the case, it was up to the benevolent and the wise to the wise. The frost energy from the Water Dragon King's wings was extraordinary. Once it was released from Lu Yuan's body, it condensed into a thick layer of ice. Even if a normal Soul King or Soul Emperor were to use their full strength, they wouldn't be able to destroy it. Therefore, Lu Yuan and the others were able to walk very steadily on the platform. Lu Yuan and the others crossed the 200-meter distance in an instant, and they walked up the platform in an orderly manner. The seahorse Douluo, who was sitting on the platform, looked at Lu Yuan and didn't say anything for a long time. He had guarded the seahorse holy pillar for so many years, and had tested many people, but this was the first time he had seen someone pass the test like Lu Yuan and the others. Speaking of which, is it really okay for you to cheat like this? Pasizi's figure flashed, and she also appeared on the platform. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. No one expected Lu Yuan to do this. He actually locked the test directly. Didn't you want to control the water and use the waves to block it? He directly froze the entire sea and flipped the table. What could anyone do when faced with such an unreasonable guy? Most importantly, the assessment did not say that this was not allowed. This was a reasonable use of the rules. However, she was still a little surprised in her heart. She didn't expect Lu Yuan to have an ice attribute ability, which made her quite surprised. Now that all of you have passed the test, you can take the sea god's test now. Who will go first? Pasizi's voice rang out as she looked at everyone with her beautiful blue eyes. Evil Moon, you go first, Lu Yuan said softly. Naturally, they had to send someone with some strength for the first assessment. Besides Lu Yuan, Hulina and Zhu Zhuqing, Evil Moon was the strongest. Evil Moon's current Moonblade martial soul had already evolved into a golden Moonblade. It was extremely close to ultimate gold, and its quality was even higher than the clear sky hammer. Apart from Lu Yuan's god-slaying spear, Evil Moon's Moonblade could be considered the #1 tool martial soul. In addition, he was only 23 years old and was already at level 62. He had also comprehended greater mastery of saber force. This talent was actually quite good. Even after Ma Hongjun and the rest consumed the immortal herbs, their talents were only comparable to Evil Moon's. Evil Moon also had the potential to become a god. Of course, he was only a level 2 god. However, being a level 2 god was already very good. At least, he was much stronger than the original Evil Moon. Yes, Your Highness. Evil Moon acknowledged. After that, he took a step forward and came to the bottom of the seahorse holy pillar. Pasizi nodded at the seahorse Douluo. The seahorse Douluo immediately stretched out his hands and placed them in front of his chest. A clear blue light started to appear between his hands. The blue light filled the seahorse Douluo's hands. Suddenly, The blue light shone brightly and illuminated the entire platform. The entire seahorse holy pillar started to climb up the blue light along the patterns. Very quickly, the blue light covered the entire seahorse holy pillar. At this moment, the seahorse Douluo pointed at Evil Moon. A blue pillar of light shot down from the top of the seahorse holy pillar and enveloped Evil Moon. Evil Moon didn't feel anything special as he was enveloped by the blue pillar of light. His expression didn't change at all. However, the pillar of light that enveloped his body started to fluctuate and change colors. White, yellow, purple, black. The colors changed a few times and stopped at black. A look of astonishment flashed across the seahorse Douluo's eyes. Black rank trial? Is it that difficult? I wonder how many trials it is. I hope the sea god can take pity on them. The seahorse Douluo sighed in his heart. The black rank trial was very dangerous. In the past, he had experienced a lot of difficulties and barely passed it. The trial was too difficult. If he didn't pass it, he would die. Although he was a little speechless when he saw Lu Yuan and the rest pass the trial in the icebound sea, he wasn't a bad person. He didn't want to see Evil Moon die in the trial. However, this was just the seahorse Douluo's thought. For a true genius, they were never worried about the difficulty of the trial. Instead, they were worried about how much they would improve after the trial. The pillar of light that enveloped Evil Moon turned deep black. At the same time, black patterns started to crawl on the seahorse holy pillar. The black patterns climbed higher and higher. They paused for a moment at 1/3 of the pillar. Then, they continued to climb and finally stopped at 2/3 of the seahorse holy pillar. After the patterns stopped climbing, 6 rays of black light flew out from the seahorse holy pillar and turned into 6 black light screens. The first light screen had golden words shining on it, while the other 5 light screens dimmed slightly. After that, the 6 light screens flew into Evil Moon's glabella. Suddenly, a 6-pointed star mark appeared on Evil Moon's forehead. The mark was as black as ink. The 6th black rank trial. 2 more trials than I took back then, the seahorse Douluo said softly. He looked at Evil Moon with sympathy. The 6th black rank trial? A light flashed across Pasizi's blue eyes. This talent was not bad. Of course, it was still not enough for her to take it seriously. Your Highness, how is the 6th black rank trial? Evil Moon didn't know what the 6th black rank trial was, but he knew that Lu Yuan definitely knew. It was this kind of blind trust. Ever since Lu Yuan easily defeated him twice and taught him the wonders of Intent Realm, he started to worship his brother-in-law, Lu Yuan. When someone was slightly stronger than you would want to compete with them. However, when they were much stronger than you could only look up to them. Worshipping the strong was an innate human instinct. After hearing Evil Moon's words, the rest of the people looked at Lu Yuan curiously. The 6th black rank trial is not bad. It's considered the top of the black rank trial. To be able to get it is an affirmation of your talent. Work hard. Pass the 6th black rank trial, and you will gain a lot of benefit, Lu Yuan said gently. Chapter 936. Not bad. Hearing Lu Yuan's words, Evil Moon couldn't help but smile. Since Lu Yuan said it was not bad, then it must be not bad. As the first to appear, he was actually a little nervous. Fortunately, he didn't embarrass himself and got the 6th black exam. Not bad. Hearing Lu Yuan's words, the seahorse Douluo's mouth twitched. Does this young man have some misunderstanding about the black exam? Does he really think it's a game? People can die in the exam. This isn't a joke, it's really not a joke. If you can't complete the exam, you will lose your life. The difficulty of the black exam is very high. It's even more difficult to complete it. Everyone, I think I have to remind you that the Sea God's exam isn't that simple. If you can't pass it, you will die. Especially the black exam, it's very difficult. Back then, I took the 4th black exam. Even so, I hovered between life and death several times. If it wasn't for my good luck, I think I would have died. However, this young man in front of me took the 6th black exam. It's several times more difficult than mine back then. It's very difficult to complete the exam, so I want to tell you not to let your guard down. The seahorse Douluo said earnestly. As soon as he said that, everyone's expression changed. Evil Moon also looked at Lu Yuan, hoping to hear Lu Yuan's explanation. Sensing everyone's gaze on him, Lu Yuan smiled slightly. He looked at Pasizi and said, "Senior Pasizi, do you have something to say?" Pasizi looked at Lu Yuan helplessly and said, "The seahorse Douluo is right. The 6th black exam is indeed very difficult. If you can't complete it, you will lose your life. However, fortune and misfortune come hand in hand. Just as Lu Yuan said, the more difficult the exam, the better the reward." As soon as Pasizi finished speaking, Lu Yuan swept his gaze across everyone and asked indifferently, "Do you all understand?" "Understood." Everyone nodded at the same time. "No, I don't think you all understand. Let me explain it more clearly. The Sea God's test is also divided into 6 grades, namely white, yellow, purple, black, red, and gold. White is the lowest, gold is the highest. The assessment is not randomly given. It is given according to a person's talent. Evil Moon's assessment is the 6th black level assessment, which is also the top assessment in the black level assessment. As for the 7th level assessment, which is above it, it only appears in the red level assessment. Furthermore, the assessment given by the Sea God is based on one's ability. As long as you are willing to work hard, you will have a chance to complete it. Furthermore, the rewards will be great if you pass. None of you are ordinary people. You are all geniuses. You shouldn't worry about the problem of failing the exam. Instead, you should think about whether you can obtain a higher level exam, whether you can train yourself to a greater extent. This is how geniuses should think. As for those who are afraid of death and failure, don't participate in the test. I'll give you a ship and you can go back by yourself. I don't need such trash as my subordinates." Lu Yuan said coldly. "That's right. Boss Yuan is right. We are geniuses and monsters. The harder the test, the more challenging it is. Come, I'll go next," Ma Hongjun said loudly as he walked towards the seahorse holy pillar. At this moment, everyone reacted. A look of shame flashed across their faces. Then, their eyes became determined. Lu Yuan was right. They were not ordinary people. They were all geniuses. Ma Hongjun went up, and Evil Moon came down. "Senior, let's begin. I can't wait to find out what my test is," Ma Hongjun said with a look of urgency. Hearing this, the seahorse Douluo's mouth twitched. He suspected that this group of youngsters had all gone crazy. Or was this the way of thinking of geniuses? Was he outdated? "Senior," Ma Hongjun urged. "Oh!" After being urged by Ma Hongjun, the seahorse Douluo immediately reacted. He stretched out his hand, and a blue pillar of light enveloped Ma Hongjun. The color of the pillar of light changed. Very quickly, it turned black. Seeing this, the seahorse Douluo sighed softly. However, Ma Hongjun's face was filled with joy. The patterns on the seahorse holy pillar lit up. Black light started to climb up. It stopped at 2/3 of the seahorse holy pillar's height. 6 black light screens flew out from the pillar and turned into streaks of dim light. They landed on Ma Hongjun's forehead and turned into a black hexagram mark. "It's only the 6th black test." Ma Hongjun touched his forehead and said something that made the seahorse Douluo want to curse. "Only?" The seahorse Douluo's eyes twitched. "The 6th black test is too low?" "The 6th black test is not bad. It'll be very difficult for you to complete it. After all, your soul power is too low. Come back." Lu Yuan said plainly. "Oh, since boss says it's not bad, then it's not bad." Ma Hongjun chuckled softly and ran down the stairs. After Ma Hongjun came down, the rest of the people started their tests. Oscar was the most talented food-type soul master on the continent. His final test was the sixth black test. Douluo consumed the earth dragon golden melon, and her martial soul evolved into a jade phosphorus poisonous flood dragon. She also cultivated the poison pill method. Her final test was the sixth black test. Fu Qinsheng was a rare outstanding spiritual type soul master. However, because he had never eaten an immortal herb, his talent was slightly lower. In the end, he took the fifth black test. Ling Wei, martial soul Dreadclaw Bear, took the fifth black test. Yi Lingling, martial soul 9-star Begonia, took the fifth black test. After the group of people took the test, the lowest test was the fifth black test. Evil Moon, Ma Hongjun, Oscar, and Douluo all took the sixth black test. Although Fu Qinsheng and the others took the test slightly lower, it was because they had never eaten an immortal herb. Even so, to be able to take the fifth black test was enough to prove that their talent was quite extraordinary. Go, little fairy. Lu Yuan rubbed Ning Rongrong's head and said softly, "Hee, I must pass the sixth black test." Ning Rongrong smiled when she was called a little fairy by Lu Yuan and said with a cute face, "As for you, you should be able to pass the seventh test." Lu Yuan gently rubbed his chin and said with a smile, "Really?" Hearing Lu Yuan's words, Ning Rongrong smiled until her big eyes narrowed. It turned out that Lu Yuan thought so highly of her? Really? Lu Yuan nodded affirmatively. In the original work, Ning Rongrong was the top seventh test, not to mention that the current Ning Rongrong was far more outstanding than in the original work. It would not be difficult for her to pass the top test. Moreover, Zhu Zhuqing would definitely need her help in the ninth test. For example, pulling out the sea god's trident in the seventh test, so Ning Rongrong would definitely pass the top seventh test. Hee. After getting Lu Yuan's affirmative answer, Ning Rongrong smiled and then skipped towards the seahorse Saint Pillar. Chapter 937. Ning Rongrong stood under the seahorse Holy Pillar and looked at the seahorse Douluo with her ice-blue eyes. The seahorse Douluo was slightly stunned. He didn't believe what Lu Yuan said about Ning Rongrong being able to take the top-notch seventh examination. The top-notch seventh examination wasn't like the black examination. It was very difficult to trigger it. Furthermore, Huyu Hao was only an auxiliary-type soul master, and her soul power was only at rank 57. He didn't believe that she could take the top-notch seventh examination. However, he still had to do what he was supposed to do. He pointed his finger, and a blue pillar of light enveloped Ning Rongrong. At the same time, Pasizi also looked at Ning Rongrong. She also wanted to know if this girl could take the top-notch seventh examination like Lu Yuan said. Seventh examination. I want the seventh examination. Ning Rongrong muttered softly. She clasped her hands together and muttered something. Lu Yuan couldn't help but smile as he watched from the side. This girl was really a little cute. The blue pillar of light enveloped Ning Rongrong, and the light started to change rapidly. Soon, it turned black. The seahorse Holy Pillar also started to shine with black light. 1/3, 2/3. The black light followed the patterns on the pillar until it reached 2/3 of the pillar. After that, it stopped. Phew, black grade 6th examination. I knew it. How could it be the top-notch 7th? The seahorse Douluo heaved a sigh of relief when he saw this. He relaxed a little. However, the black light that stopped just now took another step forward before he could finish speaking. Suddenly, a red light flashed and dyed the entire seahorse Holy Pillar blood red. At the same time, 7 streaks of red light flew out from the seahorse Holy Pillar and turned into 7 red light screens. After that, they turned back into red light and rushed into Ning Rongrong's forehead. A red heptagram was left on her forehead. It really is the top-notch 7th examination. The seahorse Douluo opened his mouth wide in disbelief. Did I make a mistake? Pasizi shook her head slightly. In fact, she didn't believe that Ning Rongrong could take the top-notch 7th examination when Lu Yuan said those words. However, she didn't expect Ning Rongrong to really take the top-notch 7th examination as Lu Yuan said. Yeah, I'm the top 7 exam. Ning Rongrong cheered when she saw that she had won the top 7 exam. Then, she threw herself into Lu Yuan's arms. Oh Buqi, I'm one of the top 7 examiners. Ning Rongrong laughed cheerfully. Her face was full of happiness. Not bad, my Rongrong is really amazing. Lu Yuan was not stingy with his praise. Hee hee. Ning Rongrong giggled and hugged Lu Yuan tightly. Rongrong really got the 7th exam. Ma Hongjuan's face was full of envy. He also wanted the 7th exam. Amazing. Evil Moon sighed softly. She really deserved to be Lu Yuan's woman. Even though she was only an auxiliary-type soul master, she still managed to pass the 7th test. He had no choice but to admire her. Nana, go, it's your turn, Lu Yuan said to Hulina with a smile as he gently stroked Ning Rongrong's long hair. Okay. Hulina nodded gently. Then, she walked towards the seahorse holy pillar. I wonder what kind of exam Nana will get? Evil Moon asked curiously. Hulina was his sister. Naturally, he was very concerned about her. Let's take the top 8 exams, Lu Yuan said softly. Hulina's talent was enough for her to pass the 9th exam. However, she had obtained the Killing God's domain, which was equivalent to being chosen by the Azura god. Since she did not obtain the Sea God's heart, it was impossible for her to pass the 9th exam. Therefore, she could only pass the 8th exam. After hearing Lu Yuan's words, Pasizi nodded. Hulina deserved to pass the 8th exam. After what had just happened, the seahorse Douluo did not dare to think about it anymore. He was afraid that he would be slapped in the face again. He obediently carried out his job. After some work, he looked at the blood-red 8-pointed star on Hulina's forehead. He was completely convinced. She really did pass the top 8 exam. The top 8 exam. Hulina smiled as she stared at Lu Yuan with her pink eyes. Not bad. Come back. Lu Yuan smiled. Hulina smiled and walked back in Lu Yuan's direction. Zhu Qing, go and prepare for your exam. After Hulina returned, Lu Yuan patted Zhu Zhuqing's shoulder and said gently. Okay. Zhu Zhuqing's cold voice sounded. Her clear eyes blinked and flashed with a strange light. Then, she walked towards the seahorse holy pillar. Oh Buqi, can Zhu Qing do it? Hulina asked softly as she placed her hand on Lu Yuan's arm. She was naturally talking about whether Zhu Zhuqing could pass the Sea God's 9 exams. Don't worry. It's in the bag. Lu Yuan smiled. Zhu Zhuqing's talent was already top-notch. In addition, the Sea God's heart had recognized her as its master. There was basically no chance of her failing. Furthermore, the Sea God had wanted to pass on his godly seat for a long time. It was rare for him to find someone who met the requirement. He would not let her go. Just like the angel god, he was rushing to pass on his godly seat to Chihiro Snow. For this reason, he had even given Qian Rinxue the 9 sacred sword tests to help her pass the test. His intentions were clear as day. Zhu Zhuqing stood under the seahorse holy pillar, and Poseidon's blue eyes stared at her. Zhu Zhuqing was the candidate that Poseidon had discussed with Lu Yuan, and the sea god had agreed as well. However, whether or not Zhu Zhuqing could receive the inheritance was still up to the sea god to conduct the final test. After all, there was no proof. Everything had to be done with facts. The blue pillar of light enveloped Zhu Zhuqing. In just a moment it turned black and then red. On the seahorse holy pillar, the red light followed the patterns and lit up. In just a moment it had reached 2/3 of the pillar. The red light paused for a moment. Then, it moved forward again. Finally, it stopped near the top of the pillar where Hulina had taken her test. The 8 top-notch trials? Pasizi frowned. Could it be that even a genius like Zhu Zhuqing could not receive the sea god's approval? However, just as this thought appeared in her mind, the light that had paused moved forward again. Then, the golden light shone brightly and rushed to the top. The entire seahorse holy pillar had turned into a long golden pillar. The golden light seemed to rush into the clouds. The entire sea ocean shook. 9 golden lights shot out from the top of the seahorse holy pillar and turned into 9 golden light screens. Then, they turned into golden light and disappeared into Zhu Zhuqing's forehead, leaving behind a golden trident imprint. This imprint looked majestic and holy. It was filled with a majestic aura. The 9 exams of the sea god. Lu Yuan and Pasizi said this almost at the same time. Lu Yuan's eyes were filled with a gentle smile, while Pasizi's eyes were filled with relief. Chapter 938. As expected, I knew Zhu Qing wouldn't disappoint me. Lu Yuan smiled gently with a satisfied look in his eyes. Compared to Chihiro Snow and Hulina, who were already very talented, Zhu Zhuqing's talent was much weaker. To put it bluntly, Lu Yuan had contributed greatly to her current achievements. Zhu Zhuqing had been raised by him single-handedly. Lu Yuan felt very gratified when he saw Zhu Zhuqing successfully pass the 9 tests of the sea god. Congratulations on passing the 9 tests of the sea god. Pasizi's pleasant voice rang out as she looked at Zhu Zhuqing. Her eyes were filled with kindness. Zhu Zhuqing could be considered the successor of the sea god that she had fought for from Lu Yuan. Otherwise, the inheritance of the sea god would have been lost a long time ago. After all, the heart of the sea god was in Lu Yuan's hands. If he didn't want to take it out, no one would be able to snatch it from him. Zhu Zhuqing was his woman. If it were anyone else, they wouldn't even think about it. Pasizi was naturally happy that she had saved the inheritance of the sea god with her own hands. At the same time, she also took special care of Zhu Zhuqing, who had inherited the sea god's inheritance. "Thank you, Senior Pasizi," Zhu Zhuqing said softly. Her cold expression didn't change in the slightest. Pasizi naturally didn't care about this. Instead, she admired Zhu Zhuqing, who was cold on the outside but passionate on the inside. "Zhuqing, can I call you that?" Pasizi asked. "Of course," Zhu Zhuqing said with a nod. "I still have some things to tell you about the 9 tests of the sea god. I'm sure Lu Yuan has already told you what it represents. You should understand it already, so I won't say anything more. What I want to say is that the 9 tests of the sea god are held consecutively. You have to complete 1 test every year. The difficulty of the tests is very high. However, you must complete it. You can fail the black grade exam, but you can't fail the 9 tests of the sea god because the consequences of failure are even more severe than death. At that time, not only you, but the entire sea god's island will be destroyed, so you can't have any thoughts of failure. You must complete it in one go. Do you understand?" Pasizi said. "Understood." Zhu Zhuqing nodded gently and said, "It's good that you understand." Pasizi smiled. Zhu Zhuqing walked back. Apart from Lu Yuan and Hulina, almost everyone was looking at her with admiration in their eyes. The 9 trials of the sea god. This was the most difficult trial among all of them. "Lu Yuan, it's your turn," Pasizi whispered to Lu Yuan. "Do I have to participate in the assessment too?" Lu Yuan asked with a smile. With his strength, what kind of test could stump him? The tests on the sea god's island were probably not enough. "I know that you are strong, but the assessment is necessary. This is the rule. Only by passing the assessment can you stay on the sea god's island openly. Moreover, the sea god's methods are extraordinary. With your strength, the difficulty of the assessment will be very high." Pasizi said. "Then I'll wait and see." Lu Yuan smiled faintly. Just as he was about to take a step forward, a cold voice suddenly sounded in his mind. "Sign-in begins. Sign-in time, 1 minute." 1 minute? This is probably the shortest check-in in history," Lu Yuan said in his heart. Then, He took a step forward and walked towards the seahorse holy pillar. Half a minute later, the golden light soared into the sky again. The 3 golden light screens turned into a golden light and imprinted in between Lu Yuan's eyebrows. The original golden sacred sword imprint disappeared, and a golden trident imprint appeared on Lu Yuan's forehead. See God's 3 tests? Feeling the information in his mind, Lu Yuan sighed softly. This assessment is a little interesting. See God's 3 tests. Pasizi narrowed his eyes and felt the instructions in his mind. Then, he looked at Lu Yuan and smiled faintly. I told you, your assessment isn't simple. If it's too simple, then it's meaningless. Senior Pasizi, I really didn't expect that I would have to defeat you. Lu Yuan smiled softly. He was different from Zhu Zhuqing and the others. He already knew what the 3 tests were. Defeating Pasizi was one of them. Moreover, he had to defeat a strengthened Pasizi who went all out. It was definitely a very challenging assessment. It's not that easy to defeat me. I won't go easy on you. Pasizi chuckled softly. Of course. What's the point of going easy on you? Lu Yuan said. Hearing this, Pasizi smiled and nodded. She admired Lu Yuan's attitude when facing challenges. The 2 of them smiled and conversed. Zhu Zhuqing, Hulina, and the others didn't react at all. However, the seahorse Douluo had a strange expression on his face. He didn't know Lu Yuan's true strength. When he heard that one of the tests was to defeat Pasizi, he couldn't help but feel pity. In his heart, Pasizi was like a god who was invincible. Although he could clearly feel that Lu Yuan was extraordinary, he didn't think that Lu Yuan could be a match for Pasizi. Of course, Lu Yuan didn't care about the seahorse Douluo's thoughts. Ding. Sign-in complete. Rewards have been issued. Do you want to receive your reward? As the 2 of them chatted, the system's voice sounded in Lu Yuan's mind again. Receive reward. The 8-tailed illusion fox will be kept for now. Lu Yuan ordered in his mind. Ding. Rewards are being issued. Ding. Rewards have been issued. After a soft ding, a golden card silently appeared in Lu Yuan's arms. It didn't attract anyone's attention. Senior Pasizi, can you lead us to the Sea God's Mountain? Our first test should be there. Lu Yuan said softly as he looked at Pasizi. Of course. Pasizi chuckled. Then I'll have to thank Senior Pasizi. Lu Yuan said with a faint smile. The Sea God's Mountain was located in the center of Sea God's Island. The most sacred building on Sea God's Island was located here. The Sea God's Palace. The statue of the Sea God and his super divine weapon, the Sea God's Trident, were stored in the Sea God's Palace. Sea God's Island was very big. It was at least 200 miles from the Seahorse Holy Pillar to the Sea God's Mountain. The entire Sea God's Island was about 500 miles in diameter. If one said that it was about the size of a small city, it wouldn't be a problem at all. 200 miles was a long journey for ordinary people, but it wasn't much for soul masters. In less than 2 hours, Lu Yuan and the others arrived near the Sea God's Mountain. A towering mountain appeared in front of them. The entire mountain was about 500 meters tall. The vegetation on the mountain was lush and green, and it exuded vitality. Chapter 939. There was a squarish divine hall at the top of the mountain. It was like white jade, resplendent and translucent. In reality, it was not white jade, but an extremely special kind of stone. It was tough and flawless. It was a very rare building material, but the entire Sea Goddess Palace was made of this kind of stone. Putting everything else aside, the Sea God's Island was really rich. The pure white Sea Goddess Palace seemed so sacred and dignified that people could not help but revere it. Below the Sea God's Island were steps made of white stone. They were densely packed together, extending from the peak of the Sea Goddess Palace to the foot of the mountain. The entire Sea Goddess Palace, including all the steps, was suffused with a layer of faint golden light. The Sea Goddess Mountain was within a ring of sea, which just happened to envelop the entire Sea Goddess Mountain. The Sea Goddess Mountain was in the middle of the sea. This ring of sea was the ring-shaped sea. We're here. This is the Sea Goddess Mountain, and also the forbidden grounds of our Sea God's Island. Your first test will be held here. Pacizi pointed at the Sea Goddess Mountain as Lu Yuan's group appeared in the ring-shaped sea. Is it the light of the Sea Goddess? Lu Yuan murmured. His gaze changed slightly as he looked at the Sea Goddess Mountain that shone with a faint golden light. Looks like you know about the light of the Sea Goddess, Pacizi could not help but say softly when he saw the change in Lu Yuan's gaze. I've seen something similar before. Lu Yuan shook his head and said softly. Oh. Pacizi glanced at Lu Yuan meaningfully. This kid should have seen something similar during the God King test, Pacizi thought. Actually, I still think you're the most promising successor. It's a pity that you're not willing. Sigh. Pacizi looked at Lu Yuan and sighed. In the end, she would definitely be sacrificed to the successor of the sea god. It could be said that she would definitely die. However, if the successor was a peerless genius like Lu Yuan, she would accept it wholeheartedly and would not be unwilling. If it were an ordinary genius, she would still have her own thoughts. For example, she was not convinced that Tang San had obtained the 9 tests of the sea god in the original work. Because she was a super genius, she did not feel that she was weaker than Tang San. In addition, she still had some regrets in her heart, which was why she wanted to kill Tang San in the 6th test. After all, how could she be convinced if he did not surpass her by a huge margin? She liked Tang Chen not only because of Tang Chen's indomitable spirit, but also because Tang Chen was the first person in the world to reach level 99 on his own. Unlike her and Qian Douluo, who relied on the afterglow of the gods to reach such a realm. That was why she saw Tang Chen in a different light. After all, the Douluo continent was a world where strength was respected. Strength was a person's greatest charm, especially a man's. Hearing Pacizi's words, Lu Yuan smiled faintly and said, "Isn't Zhu Qing not bad? She was chosen by you personally." That's true. Zhu Qing is indeed not bad. Pacizi nodded and said softly. She had thought wrongly. It was already good enough to obtain the successor of the sea god and let the sea god's legacy pass on smoothly. How could she have any more requests? After coming back to her senses, Pacizi glanced at Lu Yuan and the others and said, "I've brought you the place. As for the test, you can arrange it yourselves. I'll leave first. As for the food, don't worry. Someone will deliver fresh food to you every day." "Then I'll have to trouble Senior Pacizi." Lu Yuan smiled softly. Pacizi nodded. Then, with a flash of light, her figure disappeared on the spot. Seeing Pacizi's back disappear, Lu Yuan turned around and looked at everyone with torch-like eyes. "The first test is to pass through the light of the sea god, right? Tell me about the specific test." Lu Yuan said softly. "The first test of the black rank is to pass through the first 124 steps of the forbidden area." Evil Moon's voice sounded. Same. Duguyen, Ma Hongjun and Oscar's voices sounded at the same time. "Mine is to pass through the first 108 steps of the forbidden area," Fu Qinsheng said. Me too. Ling Wei and Yi Lingling also echoed. "Pass through the first 140 steps of the forbidden area." "Obuchi, it's so difficult for me." Ning Rongrong threw herself into Lu Yuan's arms and said with a pitiful face. As an auxiliary-type soul master, the difficulty of the test was actually higher than those soul warriors. It was really difficult for her. "Who asked you to be the 7th test? The higher the level of the test, the more difficult it is." Lu Yuan chuckled. "Is it too late for me to regret now?" She suddenly didn't want the 7th test anymore. "It's too late." Lu Yuan shook his head and said. Hearing this, Ning Rongrong drooped her small head and lay motionless in Lu Yuan's arms. "Nana, what about you?" Lu Yuan asked. Pass through the first 310 steps of the forbidden area. Hulina said softly. Rank 310? I'm rank 311. Zhu Zhuqing's voice sounded. Just one level higher? Lu Yuan glanced at the two of them and understood. The difficulty of the Sea God's 9th test was definitely higher than that of the top 8 tests. However, Zhu Zhuqing's soul power was much lower than Hulina's, so it was normal for the difficulty to be reduced. After all, they were almost 3 years younger than when they took the test in the original work. More than 300 steps, your test is so difficult? Hearing Hulina and Zhu Zhuqing's words, Ning Rongrong couldn't help but widen her eyes and say, Do you still think that 140 steps is a lot? Looking at Ning Rongrong, Lu Yuan asked with a smile. I don't think so anymore. Ning Rongrong shook her head and said, Compared to them, who were over level 300, her level of 140 was really nothing. What about you, Obuchi? Hulina looked at him with a trace of curiosity in her eyes. The rest of the people also looked over curiously, wanting to know what Lu Yuan's test was about. Me? My test is to pass through all of the light of the Sea God and reach the top of the 1001st step. Lu Yuan said calmly. Hiss! A series of gasps sounded. 1001st step? Awesome, really awesome. This is really difficult, Obuchi. Are you confident? Hulina asked worriedly. Who knows if we don't try? Lu Yuan smiled slightly. There was no trace of worry in his eyes. This test was not difficult for him. Moreover, the duration of the test was 1 year. If Lu Yuan was given a year, how strong could he become? Even Lu Yuan himself couldn't imagine it. After all, his growth speed could be said to be very fast. Let's go. Everyone, let's try the light of the Sea God. Lu Yuan smiled gently. These people must feel very novel for the first time coming into contact with the light of the Sea God. It was like the first time he saw the 9 steps celestial staircase in the angel test. That feeling was very exciting. Chapter 940. Everyone stepped forward. There was a vast sea in front of them. It was the ring-shaped sea. If they wanted to enter the Sea God's mountain, they had to cross the ring-shaped sea first. The ring-shaped sea was so vast that even soul kings and soul emperors couldn't cross it directly. They could only swim. However, they would definitely be drenched if they swam. Obuchi, my 3rd soul skill allows me to fly. Everyone can fly if they eat one of my sausages, Oscar said to Lu Yuan as he looked at the ring-shaped sea in front of him. Everyone was shocked when they heard Oscar's words. Flying skills were very rare. Oscar could be considered an extremely talented food-type soul master if he had such an auxiliary-type soul skill. However, those who understood Oscar, such as Ma Hongjun and the others, were speechless. Oscar's sausages were pretty good, but his soul curse was very strange. Those who heard it for the first time wouldn't be able to eat his sausages. There's no need for that. We'll have to cross the Sea God's light later. You should conserve some soul power. You've used up more than half of your soul power after making these 10 sausages. Lu Yuan shook his head and said, Oscar's 3rd soul skill wasn't his 1st soul skill. His 1st soul skill was recovery sausages, and he could make hundreds of them. However, his 3rd soul skill required him to fly, which consumed a lot of soul power. Furthermore, Oscar's 3rd soul skill was called I Have a Big Black Sausage. After hearing this name, Lu Yuan guessed that many people wouldn't be able to eat Oscar's sausages. After all, they hadn't trained together before. This was the first time they had gathered together. It would be a little difficult for them to accept Oscar's sausages. Let me do it, Lu Yuan said softly. He waved his right hand, and the entire ring-shaped sea started to shake. Streams of water shot out. Under Lu Yuan's control, they condensed into a huge water bridge above the ring-shaped sea. Water flowed on the water bridge, and it was very strange. After that, blue light flickered in Lu Yuan's hand and poured into the water bridge. The entire water bridge started to condense. Not long later, it turned into ice. An ice bridge, emitting white mist, stood directly above the ring-shaped sea. The sunlight shone on the ice bridge, refracting 7 colored rays of light. It was exceptionally gorgeous. The diameter of the ring-shaped sea was more than 2,000 meters, which meant that the ice bridge Lu Yuan condensed was also more than 2,000 meters long. To be able to condense such a long ice bridge, Lu Yuan's attainments in controlling water and ice were already beyond the imagination of ordinary people. Boss, you're really awesome. I'm convinced. Ma Hongjun couldn't help but exclaim in surprise as he looked at this exquisite and magnificent bridge that directly crossed the distance of 2,000 meters and reached the ice bridge on the other side. It is indeed powerful. The eyes of Evil Moon and the others were also filled with shock. In their eyes, this ice bridge was directly condensed by Lu Yuan. The impact of this was enormous. Hee, let's go. Lu Yuan chuckled and led the way onto the ice bridge. With Lu Yuan's current level of controlling ice, the ice condensed by him was quite hard. It was not a problem for them to walk on it. The distance of 2,000 meters flashed by, and everyone set foot at the foot of the Sea God Mountain. Let's not tear down the ice bridge. It's convenient for the attendants of the Sea God Island to send food. Those who want to try can go up. I'll give you a piece of advice. If you can't hold on, don't climb up anymore. Just come down. There's still plenty of time. There's no need to rush, Lu Yuan instructed. Yes. Everyone nodded in unison. All right. Lu Yuan nodded and walked to the seaside. He whistled softly. Suddenly, 2 figures appeared on the ring-shaped sea. One was dark blue and the other was silver. They were swimming towards him. Soon, they arrived in the sea in front of Lu Yuan and revealed their full appearances. One was a deep-sea demon whale that was more than 40 meters long, and the other was more than 80 meters long. It was the demon soul Great White Shark King that Lu Yuan had seen before. Xiao Lan. Looking at the deep-sea demon whale in front of him, Lu Yuan couldn't help but pat its head with a warm smile on his face. From the bottom of his heart, he really liked this simple-minded and kind-hearted deep-sea demon whale. Its naivety reminded Lu Yuan of Wang Qiu. That little girl was also very naive. Thank you for bringing Xiao Lan here. I'll remember this kindness. Looking at the demon soul Great White Shark King, Lu Yuan said softly. No need. It's just a small matter. The demon soul Great White Shark King gently opened its mouth and let out a crisp female voice. Although its voice was pleasant to the ears, it was slightly trembling. You seem to be afraid of me. You don't have to be. It's not like I'll eat you. Lu Yuan laughed softly. Hearing this, the demon soul Great White Shark King thought to itself, how could I not be afraid of that terrifying dragon roar that you emitted not long ago? What's your name? Your skin is so white. Don't tell me you're called Xiao Bai? Lu Yuan continued. The corner of the demon soul Great White Shark King's mouth twitched. It's really called Xiao Bai. How could this guy be so accurate? Looking at you, you're really called Xiao Bai. It seems that I guessed right. I heard that you're the Mount of the Sea God. Don't tell me that the Sea God gave you this name? Lu Yuan asked. It's the name that the Sea God gave me. Xiao Bai nodded and said. It looked at Lu Yuan with a strange gaze. This guy guessed right again. However, although its gaze was strange, the fear it felt was reduced by a lot. This was because it realized that Lu Yuan wasn't that unapproachable and domineering. He also didn't have any intention of hurting it. It seems that the sea god's naming skills are about the same as mine. We're both equally bad. Hearing Xiao Bai's words, Lu Yuan smiled and said softly. The demon soul Great White Shark King's body was silver white. The sea god called it Xiao Bai. The deep-sea demon whale's skin was dark blue. Lu Yuan called it Xiao Lan. The two's naming skills were about the same. You're not allowed to belittle the sea god. Xiao Bai retorted with a trace of dissatisfaction. What's wrong with Xiao Bai? Isn't this name nice? You're quite protective of your master. Interesting. Hearing Xiao Bai's words, Lu Yuan couldn't help but smile. It was obviously afraid of him, but it still dared to scold him when he said bad things about the sea god. Its loyalty to the sea god was unquestionable. Alright, if you don't want to say it, then don't say it. I'll give you face. Waving his hand, Lu Yuan said warmly. Hearing this, Xiao Bai blinked its eyes, and its eyes became much kinder. This person seems to be quite easy to get along with. Opening his mouth, Lu Yuan was about to speak when a strong wind suddenly attacked from behind. Lu Yuan moved his body, and a figure directly smashed into the water between Xiao Lan and Xiao Bai, causing a splash. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.